Hello, everybody. Happy New Year to all of you. Welcome to another exciting episode, of course, of All Knicked Up. I'm your host, Eric. I will be bringing my colleagues on in a few minutes. Just wanted to very quickly say again, Happy New Year. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. The Knicks just finished playing. They defeated the Spurs 118 to 114. I think that was the final. Oh, no, 117, 114. Sorry. That's wrong. I have to change it. And yeah, it was an interesting game, but we're going to talk about a bunch of other things going on as well. So let me bring. I only have Ty with me this week because Craig is actually being responsible. I guess that's the way to put it. So let me edit this while I can. So yes, Craig is being responsible. He started a new job. He has a weird different schedule now, so he couldn't make it tonight. But we're here because we didn't want to leave you guys without, of course, our brand of shenanigans, especially after this game tonight. So let's get into it right away because I mean they won. So yay, congratulations. They won, but it took 40 points. How many points did he have?
40 plus from Jalen, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Crazy. And yeah, and they hold on. They barely won. Like barely won. It's crazy when you think about it. Against a team that's not that good. Right? No. They're not that good a basketball team. So whatever, it is what it is, but they did win. They did, and again, it's a win at home, which for this team is always difficult. So we will see what happens going forward. But yeah, that was the final. We'll go through the stats. So Ty, just really quickly, I mean, we're going to talk about obviously the other games that have gone on since we last were live, but what did you think of tonight? And we kind of were talking about this a little bit while we were watching the end of the game because the game literally just ended. So we're kind of talking about it a little bit. But what did you think of the game? Performances, quick takes?
It's sort of like my ring light. It's like got a poltergeist in it. That's the same reason I'm feeling about the Knicks. I don't know if it's like some horror movie you're watching every once in a while with these guys. You know, I walk away feeling so indifferent about this team. You know, they've been ballyhooed about. Oh, we won 8 games, then we went into our little, dip in a pool where we started losing games and now we're back around to winning. I think this is 3 straight stemming from the end of the year. And now in January, we're 2-0. But I don't walk away feeling great. Anytime I watch these guys, I always tell them that, Madison Square Garden owns stock in blood pressure medicine because, clearly when you go to watch these games, you just have no clue what team is showing up. And you don't know what team is showing up on both sides, as even the visitors when coming into Madison Square, the opponents who have been terrible come in here and have masterful games. We watched the Spurs tonight, one of the worst teams in the league. Take all of our hits, major hits, from our quote unquote big stars here, and still get up off the canvas, and act like they might have gotten a little brush up, but no knockout punch. Brunson played probably one of his better games of the season. He's had a few, obviously now. He's a really good player. There's no question about that. And Julius I don't think had an off night, didn't have a great night. It wasn't too bad of a night. Yet still we find ourselves in a dogfight, against the Alamo has been finished for a long time. And somehow, some way, they brought the Alamo back to Madison Square Garden and, and put up a fight, a literal war in the Garden with Doug McDermott. I mean, come on. That was really, and Jakob Poeltl. Those two dudes came in and actually both are former pieces of the Knicks. I think Poeltl was one of our picks that we gave away, and that might have been the Bargnani trade. I'm not 100%, but and also Dougie McBuckets. was a former Knick as well. And, you get these guys and these unproven guys come in and start having these career nights right in the Garden.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. And I mean, I put this up. This is the banner I have up now is defense, because I'm going to just real quickly go down. Now, the Spurs are one of the worst shooting teams in the league. They shot 50% tonight from the floor. They're terrible from three. They shot 39% from three, shot 81% from the line. And the reason I put this up in deep is because if Tom Thibodeau's a coach for us, it's because of his apparent defensive prowess. And we just don't see that. Like, I don't understand how this guy still has this reputation of being a great defensive coach, because he literally, every team that comes in, at least at home, every team that comes into the Garden has career nights. They have a player who has a career night. They have career night shooting from three. Yep. Like, and I get it. To me, playing at Madison Square Garden for all of these guys is one of the best things of their season. Like, especially for the Spurs, they're not a good team, so they know that they're not going anywhere. Probably not going to make the playoffs. So for them, these kinds of games are big, and these guys circle them on the calendar because they know, well, if I have a good game at the Garden, everyone's going to hear about it.
Mm-hmm.
So just look at this. I mean, Richardson, right, had 20 points, shot 9 for 14 from the field.
Wow.
We talked about McDermott. McDermott, he's an excellent shooter. We know that. Shot 5 for 7, 15 points, 3 for 4 from three. Zach Collins was a perfect 6 for 6 from the field. 16 points. Yes, a perfect 6 for 6 from the field. I mean, just these weird things. And then Keldon Johnson is probably their best player. Okay, so he has a good game. I get it. He's a good player. He can score on anyone. He played well in the game against San Antonio where we got rolled. So, yeah, like I expect it from him. But all these other guys, you don't expect it. But again, they come in here. They come into the Garden. And they know, this is basically the one time a year we get to play here, especially a West Coast team, and they want to show out. And I said this to you before when we were chatting. I said the Knicks players don't get that.
Yeah,
they don't understand that. For some reason, that part doesn't sink in to their heads, and that's a reflection of the coach. That is a reflection of the coach, because the coach is the one who sets the tone. Specifically for what you want to be at home, because like on the road, weird things happen. Teams usually come together on the road because they don't have their home distractions. So on the road, it's usually easier for a team to come together and not block out all the noise. But at home, it's the coach's job, the head coach's job, to keep all that stuff in order and in line. And this guy just doesn't do that. So there is no reason why the Knicks should be better on the road than they are at home, but they are. No,
absolutely not. I mean, you look at it, the Garden has always been, had the, the New York vibe to it. The rah-rah, the streets of New York comes into the Garden, and it almost makes it feels like for the other teams like it's a business trip. Literally, maybe it is. Maybe the atmosphere of the Garden has lost some of its luster because it's more corporate oriented and sightseeing going on as far as people coming into the Garden, and maybe the true grit of the New York fan base is not in there on a constant basis. But these guys come in like this is their home court. Every team that comes in from another whatever foreign city comes in, and the other teams are like, well, we came in here to basically pull on our pants and take a squat right in the middle of the court and sign our name on the dotted line, and they leave out, with the cape and the victory and all the highlights on all the sports outlets. So, when we look at these kind of things, it does make you wonder, the psyche of the players in our locker rooms when these opponents come in. What tone are you setting? The tone that seems to always exist is that the Knicks are struggling to put away teams, that we have to perform out of desperation to kind of close out games. We never exhibit like what the Warriors, and albeit I know the Warriors are a championship caliber team and won the chip last year, so they have it in their DNA, but they're terrible on the road, but they make sure that they protect the home court. That's the one facet that you should be relying on as a team, that you're not in my house. Dikembe, not in my house, whatever. That should be the full vibe anytime you come into New York, is you may walk out of here with one, but you're going to know that you might walk out limping with a win. And these guys always look refreshed, and they're celebrating or feeling like we're like praying on the edge of our seats. The sphincter muscles are getting tight every time you watch one of these games because I know personally for me, I have no faith in our team to close out games. I'm just waiting for the other team to run, and hopefully they run out of steam to beat us, because that's kind of the atmosphere and tone that's been set day in and day out when we watch games in the Garden. It's like you don't know. Like tonight, I'm sitting there like if Sochan, whatever his name is, doesn't get that 5-second call, who's to know what the result would have been? Would it have been a 3 or an and 1 or a stupid foul? Because this team has it in their DNA to fail down the stretch. Brunson had a lot of hot moments, but I mean, we can get into, his kind of play too, kind of lends to a little bit of the issues with the Knicks, having to, kind of survive some of these things because you're playing more iso ball than you're playing within the context of a team where you can rely on a system of play to kind of make it a little bit less, I don't know, nervous towards the end where you got to worry about hitting your free throws again, which is another issue that we can't seem to get over also.
Yeah, well, that's probably the biggest. I mean, literally has cost them games. We talked about it last time, but the missed free throws has literally cost them games. A couple of the games in Texas when they lost, a couple of those, they literally lost them. We know the game against Chicago here, it cost them that game. I mean, you have to hit your free throws.
Oh yeah.
And especially at home too. Like when they miss them at the Garden, to me, it's a little like I'm like, why are you missing them at home? It's your crowd, the support's there, they're all behind you. I don't know. Again, I do think there's a little bit of fear of messing up for them when they're home. I do think that's part of it. So I don't know, but it's really, really surprising just how like you said, their sphincters get tight when they're home. Like they get a little bit more, and it shouldn't be that way. Like you should be more comfortable.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. You never see like them embrace. I don't know this team. I mean, you got players on there like Brunson. I consider a guy has a New York feel to him as far as how he plays. I don't know. I don't think New Yorkers would be afraid, but these guys play like they're, they don't have the understanding or the psyche of being here and embracing this noise. It's almost like they're afraid that, they might boo me later, instead of saying, nah, I got this crowd behind me. I'm not worried about losing these games because I know if we turn on the switch, our backup is in here as a team. I don't think the Knicks have ever, maybe captured the fan base enough to rely on that to energize them. I think they feel like they're playing against not only the opponents coming in, but they're playing against the fans as well. That's maybe the vibe that they're giving off. I don't know, because there's no reason you should be uptight playing at home unless you see the crowd as an enemy and you've created like some, Julius, I think, said the other night about he's playing for the fan base. Maybe he's getting and trying to understand, or maybe he's starting to get it that you're a New Yorker now. You have to play like like these people think here. And I don't think the Knicks have it, and I think a few of them don't have it. Because they're showing down the stretch, they're willing to cough up, like they doing a Ricolai commercial with some cough drops. They're just coughing up these dumb plays in the end, and free throws and all the et cetera. So
yeah, they get tight. They definitely get tight towards the end of games when they're home. Like even tonight, Brunson had the ball towards the end of the game. He lost control of the ball for a little while, and then he tried to make that pass inside to Julius, I think it was. He passed it quick. Like even the guy who you expect to be the calming presence has an issue at the Garden. Like it's very weird to me, and I do think, like I said, I think there's something to what you said. They definitely have this like mental block when they play at the Garden that everything has to be perfect, or they have to do everything right, or the fans are going to be kind of like against them or push back.
Mhm.
It's such a weird dynamic because
Very weird.
all the fans care about is that at the end that you win the game. Like
Yeah,
like
yeah,
tonight wasn't pretty, but if I went to the Garden, hey, they won, right?
they won.
If
They
you're in
won.
the Garden, they won the game, so you're gonna be happy that they won the game. You spent all that money on tickets. You probably had a few beers and ate some food and put
Yeah,
all this money. So when they win, you kind of feel validated that okay, it was a good night out and they won.
yeah, yeah,
It's like
exactly.
that, and that's all they care about. So I don't understand. Like it's just odd to me the different dynamic that they have because every time I watch them on the road, I mean they don't win all their road games, but I always feel like they're much more at ease just playing basketball. Sometimes the team's better than them, and that's fine. You
Mhm,
lose games,
mhm.
sometimes better than you, or just have a better night than you. But I never get the feeling that they're not, um, but they can't handle it.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
home, I get that feeling that they can't handle it. It's very weird.
It's a very weird dynamic. It's almost at the end, like you said, everything the fans want to win and the team should want to win. That should be the ultimate goal, no matter which way it is, no matter how scrappy or how nasty it is or whatever it took to get there. The end result is we all should want to win. But the Knicks, when playing at home, they're like they're trying to win. It's like they're trying to survive. Like they're trying to survive the other team. They're trying to survive the crowd, and they're like they're doing a lot of hope and wish. Is Mazir Kings of Comedy with Cedric Dantana. He says some people live under the wish creed. I wish somebody was in my seat. It's the same thing like the Knicks. Like I wish we can win this game because they never play with the confidence that they're supposed to win these games and the opponent's supposed to lose. It's like they just try to endure the wave and hope they don't drown in it. It's one of the strangest. Never felt like that with Ewing. Never felt like that, in our era of watching basketball, like the Knicks defeated themselves before, they even got there. But, and maybe it is. I mean, they say it's the heaviest jersey to wear in the league, and perhaps it is. And we're also dealing in another generation of guys that are maybe not as mentally tough, as the prior years. Those guys knew, in the 90s just to go out and play a style of basketball that was committed to winning. And no matter how it looked at the end, it was just like, did you get the dub or you didn't get the dub?
Yeah, I mean, I remember one of the years. I think one of the seasons. I mean, the '90s. I remember they were like 30-4 at home at one point. There was some ridiculously good
Mm-hmm.
home record. And you're right. There's not there that feeling doesn't exist anymore, and it hasn't really since then. I mean, maybe the end of the '90s with the Houston, Spreewell, Johnson,
Yeah.
Canby,
Mm-hmm.
maybe with those guys. But since then, I feel like every star that comes here says to themselves, okay, I'm going to make this my house for tonight. And they do. And
All the time.
yep. And it's really, really bad.
I think I'd be okay if it was the stars as opposed to. I mean, well, then again, maybe I don't. I'm gonna rewind. I'm gonna pull that back a little bit. Even when Jordan was at his height coming into the Garden, I don't think Knicks fans ever or the players ever said, "Let me bow to him and give him the game." It was always like, "You're going to be in here and you're going to be in a dogfight." And more than likely, unless there's Bull fans that snuck into the game, there's not going to be a lot of cheering for Michael Jordan. There might be some oohs and ahs because he probably put on a performance that you may have not seen that before. But it was never to the point of bowing down and kissing the ring. Whereas some of these guys, they like concede like when a Durant comes or LeBron comes or Giannis comes or any of these guys come into the arenas like, well, we might not win. And then they're dapping these guys up at the end of the game, which I just don't get that at all. It's like they just kicked your what and kicked your arse, and you're coming in here and you're being favorable to them, and then they're going to come back and do it again. And you're like, okay, you want to dap them up and change sweaters, your jerseys with each other. And I'm like, I don't know. I'd be as a fan, and maybe see, we're going back to the same thing about mentality. As a fan, we are pissed when we watch those kind of L's happen while we're viewing and taking our hours out of our day and our cable bills, and if it was paying the tickets at the door. You got to get on a pole like for the rest of the week to afford the tickets that you took your kid to. You're like basically soliciting out your services just to go out. You might be out of your house next week because it took your whole mortgage out of going to see this game, and then they're going around like they're smiling on the bench, and it's like you just got your butt kicked. Why would you want to smile on the bench? You know, and the fans are watching this lackadaisical nonchalantness about, you know, a game that we obviously as New Yorkers are very passionate about and want to see a team come out there with the same concerns or the same wanting to win like we do and hating to lose. And I don't know this team. I don't know if I've seen a guy. I'm like thinking, I don't know if one player to me, Brunson shows the tenacity of wanting to not give up. But I don't know if we got guys that hate to lose yet. And it's a difference with that. Brunson is competitive and he's going to keep coming at you. He's relentless. Does he hate losing? Because hate losing sets a tone in the locker. And also, look, we're not going out losing this game the next time around. You never sense that with the Knicks. It's always a roller coaster because it's like the tone has never been set that you're not doing this in our house every night. Who's that vocal leader or that person who stepped up, you know, and I hate to say this because we make some of these shows about Tom Thibodeau and about you know, Julius Randle so often, and the move off of Julius. I'm going right to Tom in a lot of ways. This team, unfortunately, their pit bull is the coach. Like, he's louder than every voice that's on the team. Like, I'm listening tonight, and when the Garden's quiet, you can really overly hear him.
You can hear him, yes.
Anybody else, and he's yelling out plays. And I've never watched a game that I can recall from great coaches where I've heard a great coach be that loud, calling out every play. You know, it's like, if somebody knows your playbook and you're calling that out, obviously the other opposing coach is going to adjust to what they're here you've been calling or whatever. It's like that's undermining your point guard. If you're asking him or a player on the floor to look at you for everything. So it's like, whose personality is this team? It's like you feel like no player owns this team because the coach owns it.
Yep. No, you're right. That's a big. Like, if you ask me who the face of the franchise is, I would probably say Thibodeau.
Yep.
And that's not a good thing. Even with the season Randall had a couple of years ago, the season he's having this year, because let's be honest, he's putting up really good numbers and he's playing pretty well. And even though they're pushing RJ that way, like you can tell he's the face of all their media stuff, and they put him on the commercials, and you know they're pushing Barrett. While Barrett, I think, has the demeanor to be the player you were talking about before, I don't think he has the demeanor to be the face of the franchise. So with regards to like that type of thing that you were talking about. So yeah, it really is Thibodeau. And it's hard for Brunson. Maybe he will be going forward after he kind of establishes himself this year. I think he's kind of in the process of where he has to do that. But yeah, the face of the franchise is the coach. And I mean, it's not I mean, you think back to when the Knicks were good in the 90s. Yes, Bradley was the coach, but that was Ewing's team, right? The entire team was formed and developed around what Patrick Ewing did well, and that was Patrick Ewing's team. And then when they shifted, when Van Gundy took over, and then towards the end of Ewing's career, it kind of became Houston and Sprewell's team. It was both of their teams. Like they were the guys and the way they played. And we haven't really. That's kind of the last time I can remember saying, okay, and obviously Melo, when Melo was here. Yes, that's for Melo's team. But, you know, they don't have that face anymore. They don't have that identity of that one player, that one star, which leads me to this next topic, which is the trade that never ends. And I'm talking about Donovan Mitchell again, of course. Yeah. Because he had the 71 points. And, of course, now – anytime this guy does something great or good, or it's always going to be brought up that, oh, the Knicks missed out. Oh, why didn't they make the trade? Oh, blah, 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 blah. And for me personally, I really wish we would stop that. Like, I wish we would, because I am firmly convinced he was never coming here. Never. He was never coming here. Ainge was never trading him here. He used the Knicks just to beef up the package and trying to get more out of other teams. First, it was going to be us. That's why when they said, "Oh, we'd include Barrett," it was like, no. Now we want more picks. It never would have been enough. They would have just kept adding on and adding on and adding on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really why I think Leon Rose and Scott Perry and the guys were like, you know what? No, now you're just playing us. You just want everything we have, and it is what it is. We've talked about this before. He made the better choice was for him to go to Cleveland. It was a better trade. They're a better team. They have more talent. They're closer to being an upper echelon Eastern Conference team than we are. So that was the right trade, not only for Utah's purposes, but for Donovan Mitchell's purposes as well.
Yeah.
And so that's been my reaction to every time something like this happens. But I'll let you speak on it for a little while now, because I know we kind of felt the same way about them not doing the trade to begin with. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Donovan Mitchell, I mean, he's a talent. I mean, we can't argue about the talent that's Donovan Mitchell. He's had Utah right at, at the top of the standings mostly all the years he's been there recently and before being traded. I always, question, he had Rudy Gobert there. He had some talent around him. I think he got out of the first round one time, I think it was. But needless to say, my judgment on what a superstar is versus having a high level all-star is, I think Donovan Mitchell is a high level all-star. I think superstars make up for a lot of mistakes that a franchise makes, as well as a lack of talent. Like a Luka Doncic is a superstar because he's pulling a team along that clearly, if he wasn't on there, that team goes kaput. You're in the lottery. You're a lottery team.
Yes.
And it's not even you're the Orlando Magic. Well, actually, Orlando's playing pretty good. So really, you're the San Antonio Spurs. Donovan Mitchell never gave that vibe to me. Like he's a guy who you give all the eggs in your basket to get into your franchise, because his presence alone is going to change the dynamic of your franchise moving forward. And you can lack the talent. That his talent, I always feel superstars are pretty much equivalent to 3 all-stars. In my opinion, that's when those guys are mega stars, when you can go on and have the impact of like 3 all-stars. And he's not that dude. He's an all-star. He's a high-level all-star. The Knicks, it would have been silly to invest all your assets into that one person, and then you're basically left with Julius Randle and Donovan Mitchell. That's who you would have had building forward with very limited assets. So, I never was big on the Donovan Mitchell, trade, wanting him here. He's always made more sense going to Cleveland or maybe even to Miami. I know it's regrettable. Like Knicks fans will go, "Oh, we've lost out to so-and-so." If it was Pat Riley, "Oh, we lost out to Riley in Miami." Well, we're not ready to contend. A game like tonight showed that as well as we have the most talented team on the floor, we struggled. We still struggled when having the better players. We had the best 2 players on the floor, and we played like a team that was like in the lottery still, because we barely skated past a lottery team. So, what would have happened if you would have, sent an RJ, if that was even applicable? I mean, we hear all these stories about Mitch was included, RJ was included, Grimes was included, Quickly was included. Quickly's the woman who braids Quickly's hair was included. Everybody else has been included in this dang on trade with Donovan Mitchell. And it's like, who the hell is Donovan Mitchell? You really got to ask that question. Yeah, someone might say, "Oh, he's the guy that scored 71 points. Yeah, it's in the overtime. I mean, if he scored flat out 71 and it was in a regular time limit, I'm like, oh, well, damn, that's a bad boy. Or if he did it in a playoff game, yeah, that to me is when, I'm going to celebrate that a little bit more. But, every it's just a way of tweaking the Knicks every time that you can get these little asterisks. Like, thank God Quentin Grimes is playing very good, because he would have the spotlight on him as the guy. And even still now, we still hear the guy that held up the Donovan Mitchell trade. I mean, come on. I don't think Quentin Grimes, and I like Quentin. I think Quentin's a dynamic player. I love having him on the Knicks. But come on. That didn't hold up the trade. He wouldn't have been a guy you said, "Oh, God, you can have everything we have except Quentin Grimes." And I know he's a good player, but he's not a star. Those guys don't hold up star trades. It was clearly that That trade was never going to go down, no matter how, what they want to release to the media to play off the Knicks and, ping pong it back and forth to drive up the market or whatever. But, Donovan Mitchell had an incredible statistical output. Like I said, if it was within the regulation, I'm way more impressed than someone going into overtime. And I've had this mantra I just said a couple of days ago. I posted on my own personal page. I said, any coach that allows 70 plus points needs to be fired. Because I'm just sorry. No guy should be getting 70 points. If the opposing coach has a drop of sense, you get the ball out of that person's hand and you make someone else beat you. That's just how basketball 101 has always been. You take it out of that guy's hand, you double him, and you force it into someone else's hand and say, hey, you win this game. I'm not letting this dude go off for 18 more additional points on top of the 53 that he scored in regulation. That's just utterly ridiculous on behalf of I think when they played the Bulls that game, that's just utterly ridiculous. I mean, come on. But I don't think this, oh God, the Knicks missed out, as much as it's like the Knicks should be glad they missed out. We're sitting with a great mistake right now. And I know Julius has been lights out statistically. He's a mistake. At the end of the day, he's still a blunder by the Knicks front office. I don't care how many points. Hey, if he makes an all-star game, that's great. He was still a mistake. And Donovan Mitchell would have been the same type of mistake, but on a more, bombastic scale, as far as he would have set the Knicks full franchise back for about 10 more years with the assets you would have had to given up and the inability to move forward and build around him. So that's a whole different scheme. They want to revisit that because it's just the Knicks and they want to, turn the screwdriver in more to see how far it can dig in deep. But no, I'm not mad about the Donovan Mitchell, the lack of the trade. We're not ready for that kind of talent, and like I said, 2 years from now, maybe we are ready. He'll be a free agent. Then you can maybe restructure. Julius should be coming off of his deal in a couple more years. You can easily let him go or see if Cleveland wants to do a sign and trade and bring in Donovan Mitchell. But you couldn't bring in Donovan Mitchell with Julius Randle in the first place and think how's that going to work? How's that going to work? That's not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it. We saw how it took a little bit of time earlier in the year to adjust anyway for Brunson and Randle. When Randle was playing at the beginning of the year, kind of playing like he used to play, where he was just holding onto the ball too long. And, and of course we see he does have some ISO opportunities this time, but he's been much more freeing and much more open to distributing the ball and handing the ball off and letting Brunson run the team. And not ironically, that's when he started playing better when he started doing that. So, it took a little while for them to adjust anyway early in the year. And Mitchell would have been even worse because as much as Brunson has the ball a lot, Brunson, when he comes up, he'll give up the ball. Mitchell likes to pound it for a long time. If you watch it, he likes to pound the rock a lot. So, I mean, there's another thing. There's other factors involved too. Like as good as Randle and Brunson are, I mean, Randle isn't the two-way player that Evan Mobley is, right? Or we don't have another guard. Brunson's not as good as Darius Garland or not as dynamic as Darius Garland. As good as these guys are, they're not that level good. So they don't have that. Like the Knicks don't have a Kevin Love on their bench to bring in the game, right? They don't have these other guys that Cleveland has. So if Mitchell was here, people assume that the Knicks would be just as good as maybe the Cavs are. No. But maybe a couple more wins. Like maybe those 2 games that they lost on the road, the 1 point, the free throw game, maybe they win those closer games, so maybe 3 or 4 more wins the Knicks have than what they have now. But I don't see it being a huge paradigm shift for them. Like, oh, he's here, they'd be challenging the Nets and the Bucks and the top echelon teams in the East. No. And that's the problem. And my bigger problem with the whole Mitchell conversation is it's not really the fans. It's the freaking media.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the media just keeps harping on this. Oh, yeah. We wouldn't be sitting here talking if it wasn't for Alan Hunt. And Alan is great at what he did. I give all the respect in the world. He has, made a career out of from being a Knicks beat writer for Newsday. Now he's a national He has a national radio show on ESPN. He's called games last week for the Knicks. He did color analyst. So props to him. But he does it too. Every single time Mitchell does something well, he brings up Donovan Mitchell. And Stephen A, whatever, he just does it because he wants the rating. So he'll bring up Donovan Mitchell for any other reason. Yeah, so he doesn't. But like, I wish the media would just pull back from doing this, and because it does, like, most fans I talk to, they're like, yeah, I was upset we didn't get him, but they're not like devastated.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the media, you would think a complete opposite. Like, you'd think that every Knicks fan is devastated that we didn't get this guy, and that's not the case. That's just not the case.
Like we're marching on the Madison Square Garden to demand answers. You know, I mean, I think there's a good section of Knick fans that are smart. You know, we have fandom. You know, we have the Robert De Niro fan base too. You know, those kind of fans in New York. You know, who are just irrational and, you know, just not thinking at all. But I think the core basketball people that follow the game and love basketball, then, you know, remove the wanting of the big name and et cetera, et cetera. I think most Knick fans have dealt enough. You know, if you're over 30-something years old, 35 years of age, probably, you've witnessed enough Knick turmoil to know that you'd rather have a dialed back approach as opposed to a very aggressive approach, because you question the mindset of whoever's making those decisions, and you rather be pressed on the brakes and not on the accelerator as a Knick fan with this front office, because you want them to make moves, but you don't want it to be, you know, to kill the youth, to kill the trade assets, and then you're left with an empty cupboard. You know, granted, we look at the Melo trade, I think became the warning shot for a lot of Knick fans. Was like, you know, and granted, in that talent exchange, Melo was absolutely the greater talent of everyone we traded. It's not even a question mark. It was the moves after you couldn't make, and how much you went into and invested in Melo and Amari that you gave up in order to get to that, you know, to have those two max slots, and then not to have a third plan in place, you know, which should have been Chris Paul, but, you know, we all know how all that worked out. But I think Knick fans seeing the Donovan Mitchells come around and go, we want a guy like that, but we want him at our price, something we can stomach, as opposed to us, you know, going and getting the barf bags, you know, and trying to, you know, dry heave while it goes on and not knowing what our next move is. You know, I don't know if we have a literal all-star on our team, you know, young-wise. I mean, we think RJ can be. We look at Grimes. Yeah, he has potential. He could be a high-end player. We don't know all-star level. But I think we also don't want to leave it where we don't have that extra talent to build around, that extra cheap talent to build around someone if we do happen to run upon someone. You know, I think we got something in Brunson. He might be a third best player on a great team if you had it. He's at least a point guard you can kind of depend on. He's dependable. But we don't know if we got two other players that we can consistently say that this is the star on this team, this is the second player, and this is the third player. And Donovan Mitchell would have maybe given you maybe the second player, because you got to wonder. We can't say he's the first player yet. He's been the lead dog, and he's still not gotten Utah anywhere. So he's in that echelon of, like I said, he's a high-end all-star, not a superstar. So you may need to get another talent at least equal to him to talk about winning a championship with. That's hard to get two talents at that level. You're either going to get an alpha and a beta, or you're going to get two betas. You got to have somewhere along those lines in order to be competitive and talk about winning a chip. And I think Knicks fans are understanding that. Walk away from the Donovan Mitchell trade, because you started hearing, and everybody's stomach got a cramp when they heard supposedly what was being asked and what was almost given away by, you know, Leon Rose. When they heard the list, when people heard RJ, they was like thinking, okay, maybe RJ. And people that are hard, you know, they had stomach cramps over RJ. They had bubble guts over RJ. Then it was like, oh, and they said, give him Mitch, and they took him Mitch, and then they taking draft picks. Like, whoa. Let DM stay over there in Utah. Let someone else come get him, and we'll see you in 2 years. If you really want to be a Knick, you should want to come here whole, and which is what people asked of Melo that year, because the trade belief was They traded for him because he wanted to get money because the lockout might happen. So now people are saying, well, if you really want to come to New York, you would want to come when the team can be whole,
Right.
can be for
Exactly.
a championship, as opposed to I'm not gutting the team to get you. But the media wants to paint that as, oh, look what the Knicks missed out on. Well, if you recall, he scored 71 against the Bulls, right? The Knicks, was it the Bulls?
I believe it was,
Yeah. So the Knicks swept the Bulls back-to-back at home, and they lost on a buzzer beater in the Garden. It didn't take someone 71 points on the Knicks to beat. Now think about it. Cleveland has better talent than the Knicks.
They do.
So it took 71 from Donovan to beat a team that the Knicks beat in regulation back-to-back games, and then almost won in a third game, if not
Should have won
the free throw. So the Knicks would have swept the Bulls, whereas Donovan Mitchell with a greater team required 71 points to beat him in a couple overtimes. So, I mean, he's a great player, but you got to ask yourself, what was he doing in that game that required that he make all those points? What was his other teammates doing? Did he get the other teammates involved? He had half. I think almost their points. I think it's 140 something they ended up with. It's a lot.
And when we played them, that was the win that started the win streak for the Knicks, and we destroyed them. Like we destroyed Cleveland when we played them a couple weeks ago. So I mean, again, you're right. He's a fantastic player, fantastic scorer, one of the more dynamic players in the NBA. I would never take that away from him. But for where the Knicks are right now, it was the right move. And I just wish everybody would stop talking about it every time he does something. Like enough already. We get it. We didn't get him. You're sad. Move on. He's not coming this year.
No.
So let's just forget about it. And I mean, this is Joe. For some reason, it still says Facebook user, but Joe is commenting. That's true. I agree with him. Like I think Evan Mobley overall is a much better talent.
Yeah.
He has a little development to do offensively, but I mean the two-way talent when I always say about Robinson, when Robinson is on the floor for the Knicks and he's not in foul trouble like he was tonight, but when he's on the floor for the Knicks and playing well, they're a completely different team. They're so much better defensively. And that's how I feel when I watch the Cavs with Mobley. When Mobley's on the court, they are so much better.
Oh, yeah.
And as Joe's point, he has a lot of offensive ability, too. He's one of those tall, like lanky, new age power forwards who could dribble the ball and pass and do all the things that guards technically do. So he has all that talent, good shooter as well, but they're not asking him to do those things. So are you stunting his development? That's a great point. I didn't think of it. That's a great point. They might very well be stunting his development. Another guy whose development has been stumped, who we've been talking about, who we've talked about many, many times in the show, a guy who I love as a player and who's just completely wasted here, is Obi Toppin. He was available to play tonight, but you wouldn't know, guys, because he didn't play. And according to the coach, Obi is now going to be a situational player. So he doesn't have a defined role on the team anymore. I always thought you couldn't lose your job to injury. That's always been a sports adage as long as I could remember, but apparently not. Apparently that's not the case. So this really bothers me.
Yeah.
And it's another highlight of the reason why the Knicks need to move on from this coach. And they need to go in a younger direction with a head coach. And I would say I wouldn't feel this way if this Knicks team was one of the top teams in the East, because I think if they're a top team in the East, then Thibodeau probably is a better coach for them. Because when you're a top team and you have that kind of talent, you can pare down your rotation to 8-9 guys and play those guys every night and know what you're going to get from them. But when you have young talents like Obi Toppin, like Emmanuel Quickly, who's been playing, I have to say, he's been playing very well lately. Because he's been playing like I said he should play. And he's just trying to score the ball. He's not worried about creating for people. He's trying to score the basketball because he's kind of taking RJ's place right now.
Yeah.
So he's kind of that other scorer that they need. So as you see, his efficiency is much better when he's not trying to play point guard. I'm just going to put that out. But with Quentin Grimes, with Deuce McBride, like you have, these guys are playing now, but the coach had to be prodded practically to start playing them. And they're getting minutes now. Jericho Sims is another one. He's starting to play these guys because he's been forced to play them. But the most talented guy of all of them is Obi Toppin. So why is he getting a situational play now? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, he is the most talented of all of the guys I just mentioned. I love Grimes. Grimes is a great two-way player, good shooter. He's a better creator than I thought, especially when he drives the basket. He's been creating shots for the big guys when he drives all the time. But, I mean, when you just look at athletic profile, quickness, shooting, because he's become a pretty good shooter now, like, Obi is the dude for me that they should be investing the time in and giving the minutes. So, but he's going to be situational. So what situations, Ty, do we have with Obi now going forward?
I'm going to go. I'm going to stay into the camera. I'm going to do my Kanye impression. Tom Thibodeau don't like athletes. That's the only way I can. If you're athletic, he don't like you unless you're Derrick Rose. I mean, that's the only explanation I can ever give for this dude, that he don't like athletes, because it just behooves me that when you think about the guys that sit on the bench, and granted, we know the issues with Cam. We know Cam. We don't know if he has a Kia motor or he has a Tesla. We don't know if it's a muscle car. We haven't figured out what damn motor this kid's driving around in. We don't know. But we know he's an athlete. We know that much about him. Mitchell Robinson is an athlete. We give him Mitchell. Mitch is only going to do what Tom says, which is rebound and block a shot. He's golden for Tom. Guys like Jericho Sims that could jump out the roof, we don't know what he's going to do with him. Guy like Cam Reddish, very athletic, we don't know what we're going to do with him. Guy like Obi Toppin, let's make him a three-point shooter. And he just goes and he's what I call him, Obi Ori. That's what I call him, because he turned him into a three-point shooter. It's like, well, damn, you mean to tell me this guy who fits everything about the modern game, he can stretch the floor, he can run the floor, he's athletic, he can do all the things that you ask for a player in today's game, the modern game. He'd be a modern five, is what he would be. People would say sand the defense in the paint. We're gonna make this guy run the other centers off the court and just get down the court and play a high-paced basketball game. What he's done, he's like, when he's presented with a guy with great gifts, he don't know what the hell how to coach him. It's just been proven. Every guy that he puts in the game has very limited skill level. Julius is somewhat athletic, way more skilled, than he is athletic. Very powerful, but he plays a traditional old man game. I mean, it's from the 90s. It's an ISO heavy game. It is what it is. If Julius could jump and dunk every shot just about, Tom Thibodeau would pull him out the game. He would never be in the game. He would never be in the game because he loves unathletic guys. Grimes kind of fits the mold of being a semi-athlete. We've seen athleticism from him.
Yeah.
But if you're methodical, robotic, and slow, Tom Thibodeau wants you on his team.
It's true.
And he will take those guys over any other player. People got to remember, Grimes was sitting on the bench. Deuce McBride was sitting on the bench, rotting. The only reason I don't know how RJ got in the game, I still don't know how he ever got in the game. They must have forced him because he was the third pick. Obi was rotting on the bench. All these guys who have always had some athletic youth about them, he buries them on the bench until a vet breaks a leg, literally. And then he's got to come and drag out and go, oh, I'm presented with an issue now. If not for COVID, you would have never known any of these guys could play basketball.
It's true.
You would have never seen anything. So when I look at a guy like Obi, I think instead of, which I'm more than sure, I don't know how the beat writers work. I don't get a chance to hear all the questions being asked and all that stuff. But I'm more than sure that people are pounding him, and maybe this is why Obi came up. What are you planning on doing with Obi? And the answer is he doesn't know. He has no damn clue. He's had this kid for 3 years, and he's like, his belief is to turn him into a three-point shooter. And then you have guys like Clyde. Love Clyde. Obviously, Clyde's got 2 chips. But Clyde's like, everybody's buying this narrative. The evolution for Obi is to hit the three-point shot. No, his evolution is pick and roll. He should be diving to the basket. Everything should be diving to the basket. We're the only team that has a 4 that mobile and agile, and he doesn't run to the rim. He doesn't. You have no plays running for this guy for the rim. You now have a point guard, supposed point guard. I think Jalen's he was more of a combo guard than he is a point guard, in my opinion. But I'm just saying, you got somebody who can run pick and roll now with Obi. He can pick and pop, pick and roll. There's no activity for Obi other than you stand there and wait for the ball.
That's the crazy thing. I thought getting Brunson would unlock this part of the game because Brunson is good in the mid range. So he's a threat off the pick. He's a threat to either pull up and shoot it, and if you're gonna come out and close out on him, you're gonna have a pass to Obi, whether it's a jump shot for Obi or a dive to the basket. You're gonna have something available for him there. They never do it. Never. They never run that specific pick and roll.
Never.
It is the craziest thing in the world, and I don't understand it. Like, even Julius is good in the mid-range, so do it with him and Obi. I don't care. Do it with somebody, like get the guys who run that play and run it well, and not only will his scoring go up and the team's success go up, but the excitement level will go up because people like watching him attack the basket. That's what they like to see. So it's a win-win on all levels, and I don't understand why they don't do it. We are one of the only teams that do not run a traditional pick and roll. When you have a player who, like I say this all the time, won National Player of the Year in college for doing just that stuff. That was what he did.
He's a scrub.
Mid-range jump shots, diving towards the basket. That's why Obi Toppin won National College Player of the Year. And for them to completely just take that part of his game away, why did you draft him then? You should have taken Halliburton. That's really who they should have taken. He was the pick, right? Like, that was the guy they should have taken.
They would have Halliburton running for hot dogs to get to Patam out of the hot dog water cart, man, outside. That's all he would. That's why when Knicks fans always say this about players, like, we should have drafted so and so. Which, granted, they've fumbled the ball for many years with draft picks, and I get it. I'm just talking, like, say in the last 20 years or so, you could have gotten any of these guys, and they still would have sucked, and not because they're bad players. We have no system. There's nothing they're going to play in. Halliburton would have came here. He'd have probably been on the bench. He probably would have been on the bench. Under this coach, he'd have been on the bench. He's playing behind, Burks, or he might have went and pulled out Heinrich.
I totally forgot about Burks.
He would start Heinrich. Kurt Heinrich would be in there getting 40 minutes, and Halliburton would have got 2 minutes. And 2 of those minutes would have been in garbage time. He does not. Halliburton was probably been playing behind Derrick Rose off the bench. He'd have been the third guard off the bench. Because this coach has it's an arrogance and a stubbornness that will never allow any guy to come in here that's a draft pick and flourish. It makes no sense. RJ Barrett is the third pick. How many third picks you see not really being the focal part of a team? Think about it. I'm not talking like he doesn't play. He plays clearly. A third pick in the draft. Julius was what, 10th, 8th, 9th or 10th or something like that?
Julius was 4th.
He was 4th.
Oh, no, 5th. 5th. He was 5th.
So look at what third pick do you know is not the focal point until he proves he can't be the focal point. You build out from your draft pick, and then you add on to it. To know that you've had all these – they've drafted all these guys. They were barely starting up until this year. Who in the middle of a rebuild, who does not use their draft picks that you went out and so clearly you vetted and you went out and wasted an asset or you spent an asset on to draft. So why would you never play any of these guys? This guy has a penchant for always wanting to bury the kids, like, oh, get those loud kids out of here. I don't want to deal with them. Like they're incompetent. And Obi Toppin is definitely not incompetent. Every time he's been on the floor, he's done everything he's been asked to do. And he's done it excitingly when he has fast breaks or dunks. They told him to go work on his three-point shot. He works on his three-point shot. But to get back in the game, now if he was Nerlens Noel, he would never be situational. He would have came off an injury list, with a broken leg and then been able to start. He would have started him. But Obi is like, oh, like he's annoyed with the idea that he has to play young athletic guys because he doesn't know what to do with Obi. He doesn't know what to do with Cam either. I mean, the Cam thing is personal. It's a personal thing, clearly a personal thing. I don't know what it is. He doesn't want to, and I don't understand why he's got an issue really with Obi. The fans love him and the teammates love him. So I don't know what the issue with why you feel like he's gonna disrupt or maybe bring in the question of why he's not playing. See, that's what it is. Obi comes out there and performs greatly. They start cheering Obi, and then they're like, well, this guy needs minutes. And Tom's like, oh, we can't let the fans ask, how many minutes you should get. That's when they get to the post game, he doesn't want to answer those things. So his suggestion is to bury Obi on the bench and pull him out when he needs to pull him out.
Right. It was actually June who posted that he wouldn't play Obi because Obi's problem is defense. Like Randall is some great defensive player.
Yeah.
I mean, he played good defense tonight.
Tonight was one of the nights he was engaged.
But that is something that's so few and far between. There are so many games where he does not even bother to contest a shot. If the guy's open the 3-point line and he is like, if he's below the lane, he's not running out. He just turns around and hopes for the rebound. Doesn't close out at all. So I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that, especially for a team that at times has trouble scoring. And this guy, that's what he does well. So why I don't care that he can't play great defense. He as long as he gives effort, that's all I care about, and he usually does. So I don't have an issue with that.
But my clapback is not even with the defense. Really, what happened with the defense was he inserted Grimes and Deuce McBride, and Mitch came back. Those are your only real. When you talk about defenders, I know Brunson takes charges. Okay, he takes charges. But when we're talking about what the Knicks give up, we watched the San Antonio game just now. They give up perimeter shots. They give up a lot of threes, a lot of open threes. Teams have missed those threes more than the Knicks defense has been great. And that's what I'm saying. Like against a really good team, like we can go back to the Siakam game. What was the defense then? What was the defense? There was no scheme. Siakam was just like, Siakam was like, let me go. That's some popcorn. Got my two. Oh, let me go score 50. I'm going in the paint every night. Guys are going to reach, grab, whatever.
Well, that's the other thing that they do. They foul the crap out of people. Like the Spurs tonight shot 26. Both teams shot 26 free throws. But we're talking about the Spurs without like Keldon.
Again, also, who's the scorer.
And Keldon Johnson, I like him. He's a very good player.
Yeah, he is.
But 12 free throws for Keldon Johnson. Like, really? Like, I just sit and I look at these numbers and I'm like, stop talking about defense when your team fouls everyone all the time.
Yeah, I foul.
You do nothing about that. Your team can't hit free throws. So why don't we worry about that part? The scoring part, which usually wins games when you can score more points than the other team. That's usually what wins games for you. So, why don't you worry about, shooting your free throws and that stuff, the stuff that is free, that you could control at all times, the free throw shooting you could control, the players control at all times, and stop worrying about all that other stuff. Again, we talk about them, their 3-point defense. Well, the Spurs shot pretty much 40% tonight from three, which that's good. Not great. It's good though. And it's an equalizer. This team is all season has not been, they give up more threes than any other team in the league. Like, these are the things and that's the way the game's played now. So everyone's like, well, their percentages but who cares? Who cares? If they're taking 20 more threes than the next team and they're shooting 36%, well, that's still 36% of a higher percentage of shots taken.
Yeah, that's exactly
right. So, I mean,
the volume of shots that they're taking, they're hitting 36% of a volume of looks still.
Right.
And that's part of the issue is that you should be limiting the looks and the shots, and you're not doing it. You're playing. He's basically playing against the odds. He's basically saying, oh, well, look, they only shot 36%. Yeah, but if they shot 40 of those fucking freaking threes, excuse my language, 40 of those freaking threes.
It's okay.
Now you're at a different level, of how many threes that were actually made. and then you're not scoring on top of it. You're unable to score because they went into a lull last night. I mean, in this game too. Like you go through, the Spurs cannot shoot. The Spurs are
the worst shooting team in the league.
But they managed to shoot 40% against you. That speaks of an indictment of your McBride. We watched even when we got with Cam Reddish when he was playing decent. I just call it decent. I don't want to call it great. He's playing decent, but we saw times where Cam was guarding everybody's man. Like he was out there. He's like, "Oh, let me go. I got to cover him." And zigzagging. RJ has played subpar defense. It's like there's been no Nick other than Grimes and McBride that have been these stalwarts on defense. That's when it improved. And, of course, Mitch. When those three were in a lineup together or when they came back into the rotation very heavily, that's when the defense improved. But it's not like Tom has everybody playing great defense. He has three guys that are committed to being dogs on the floor. And somehow Emmanuel quickly became Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know. I keep hearing this. Oh, Emmanuel's defense is so – all right. Quick is quick, but come on. Don't act like he's like all of a sudden he's like, Gary Payton.
No, he's good.
He's good. He's a good defender.
He is a good defensive player. He's improved on defense to the point where he's a good defensive player now.
Yeah.
He's a pest. He picks guys up full court. All that stuff is great. Like that stuff he does well. But again, like I said before, now we're seeing him play better because he's concentrating on scoring, which is what he does. Like that's
all that you've been doing. If you ask that dude to take an SAT test on basketball, you don't need to be doing that. What he needs to do is go out and instinctively play the game.
Yeah.
Off of his instincts. That's like just take the shot when you got it. He plays fearless when he's not thinking. And that's what he should be asked to do is play fearless basketball because he shouldn't be out there thinking. He is nobody's point guard. I don't care how many assists he came up with. He goes, oh, Emmanuel had 11 assists in the first. All right. And he had 14 the whole game. So if you had 11, you should end up with 22. If you're cooking like that as a point guard. He got some good, looks for guys who happen to hit shots. I mean, that's all it was. Rhythm shots guys got, and he happened to be the recipient because it's funny how they do assists now. Like a guy can take a couple dribbles after getting the ball, and that's an assist, as opposed to used to be the ball went in right when you gave it to the person. So he's a combo guard at best. He can give you minutes at the point, but he's flourishing because he's out there just getting buckets now. That's all he should be getting.
Exactly. So, and in that same line, this is where we've been recently, right? So they win 8, they lose 5. Now they've won 3 in a row. I can't believe we're at this point and I'm still asking this question. Like, that's the part that bothers me more is I kind of know who they are, but what's the truth?
It's a CSI song. Who are you?
Yes, the famous Who song that's become more popular than CSI. But yeah, I mean, who is this team? Like, they're obviously not the 8-game win streak team.
No.
They're not the 5-game losing streak team either. They're somewhere in between. And I have a feeling it's going to be like this the rest of the season. They're going to go on mini win streaks, and then go on losing streaks. And as we've seen as the season has played out, against the mediocre to bad teams, they're going to win a good portion of those games. And against the slightly better than mediocre to great teams, they're probably going to lose those games.
Mm-hmm.
And so this comes to the other point. What do we do? What do we do? Like, what do you do with that? Do you continue and push forward and say, yeah, let's just make the plan? Or do you build up value of these guys and ship them out for whatever you can get towards the trade deadline and admit to yourself that we're not good enough to compete the way we're structured now, and we need to make changes for the future? Because I always bring this up, and this is all of my sports teams I root for, and I've talked about this and you've said it before. I want consistent winners. That's what I want. I don't like this yo-yo crap. I want a consistent winner. That's why I've always been, you shoot when you draft, you shoot for the, you swing for the fences. That's why when KP was available that year, I'm like, that's the guy they need to take. You swing for the fences. You go for the talent that's going to get you over the hump. I mean, as much as I liked Obi Toppin, like I said, I wanted Halliburton. I understood the problem people had with his game, the weird unorthodox shot. You know, how he kind of plays a slower tempo game than what the NBA has become now. But look at him now. Right? Like you have to have that foresight to say, okay, we got to take a shot on this guy because of whatever the great reasons are that he's great. With Halliburton, the thing always was he was efficient in college. He was a leader in college. Like, these are all things you have to see and say, okay, yes, we could work with him. Let's draft him and make him our point guard. And with KP, it was this guy has the chance. Obviously, injuries have changed that, but this guy has the chance to be a generational player.
Yeah,
and he had that.
He had it.
Right. So, like, you have to be willing to do that to have sustained winners, because if you do that, yeah, you might fail. It might not work out. But if you don't swing for the fences and you take the safe picks, like the Frank Ntilikina, like the Kevin Knoxes, like those guys who you're like, yeah, they might not be great players, but they should be good for a long amount of time. If you take those kinds of guys in the lottery,
yeah,
man,
you're shooting yourself right in the foot.
Right. So we need, like, that's what I'm saying. So what do we do? Because we're like I said, we're a mediocre team. That's what the Knicks are. They are a mediocre basketball team. And I mean, we've talked about it and we've said what we think they should do.
Yeah.
But
I think the problem with this team, with this organization, they're chasing the tail. You know, if it's a comet tail, they're chasing its relevancy. And part of the issue with that is that you're looking for approval from everyone but yourself, your internal self. I think that's been the greatest issue with this front office. It's like, I think they equate their success with grabbing a superstar. I think that's what their focus has been, like, oh, our defining moment's going to be that big move we make where we bring in that talent with the name on the back that everybody's going to be like, oh, I can't believe the Knicks got, you know, whoever, you know, their LeBron or their Cat William, you know, the Cat Carlton Thomas and these guys. I think they want like that big name and that crown jewel in the crown. So it's not going to work. It's not going to work because you're trying to serve, in the words of Craig, you're trying to serve a couple masters here. You can't serve two masters. You're either building for something sustainable, you know, long-term sustainability, or you're building something with a quick fix because you believe you have a window that you can win big in. The Knicks don't have that window to win big in. Whatever move that they go out and try to make now that helps this team win more will be to the detriment of the future of the Knicks. It will completely go bad because there's not, and I repeat, there's not a superstar available that even constitutes you emptying out your whole roster to go get, that's going to change your fortune in, like, you won't have no more Miami moments where three guys were free agents and they signed. That's not happening. Guys are keeping the bag and it's staying, and then you got to go get them and you got to give all, you got to do like what they did with AD. I got to give you up all these assets to come and get you now, and I might be left with nothing. And then you get AD who's injured now, and it's like the Lakers are screwed. They basically, the Lakers gave people a map to what you don't do now because guys are not coming in and joining in. You're not going to get three max under one team anymore. Guys are staying put, and then they're asking for trades after they've gotten their bag, which makes it more difficult to make those kind of trades. The Knicks would, the best move the Knicks could make, and everybody's going to trade Julius. You need to trade him right now while he has the most value he'll ever have, ever as a player. Right now, we thought the MIP season was his most value. No, it's this year. Because now he's proven that the crowd is back. He's putting up all-star numbers. There's a team out there who needs that for their window opportunity to win a championship. Because he is a missing piece from a team being a viable contender for a chip right now, and you can go into some team and get some assets and a young talent to start your rebuild that should have been going on anyway with another coach and younger players. Because as great as Julius is playing, we're 2 games above 500 or 3 games. We're a mad team with a great player. If you want to call him great, I don't call him great. I'm saying you have an all-star or
An all-star, yeah. You can say all-star.
All-star talent player that you are gushing over, and look at your record. It's like Bradley Beal syndrome right now. But the Wizards actually won 4 straight, so maybe they found some. They lost the other night. But I'm saying, like, Julius is becoming in that territory of being a very, very good player on a team going nowhere.
Right, like that's well, that kind of brings up the next question I had. How far can they go, right? How far can they go as presently constituted? You have, like you said, you have Randall, who is their best player. I think Brunson's their most important player, but Randall is probably their best player. So you have him right now playing out of his mind, and he's playing excellent basketball. He didn't have a great game tonight shooting wise, but still, he got his 25 points and stuff. So he's averaging 24 and 10 on the season. He's shooting 47% from the field. I mean, he is having an excellent year. So, but we've seen this before. How far can you go with him as your best player? And I think that's where I'm at. I think that's where you're at as well. It's kind of like, okay, we've seen this before. Right? We've seen this play a couple of years ago. Same script, different cast in certain respects. Like Randall's still here as the same script guy. But we had a couple of new cast members with Brunson, and now you have Grimes and McBride playing more minutes, and you have Hartenstein's here, and you have all these different elements now that are part of the team, but he's still the guy, and this is who they are, right? Like that's who they are. They are a mediocre basketball team. So it really does kind of behoove them, as you said, to trade him. And it's not because he's a bad player or a bad guy or, he can't be part of a winning team. I think he can be, but not here as the best player. He has to go somewhere where he can either be the second or maybe even third best player on a championship team where his deficiencies can get kind of hidden a little bit more. Yeah. Like for us, they're glaring. Like for us, when he does which he still does from time to time, where he does the spin in the lane, or he does, he dribbles, he jumps in the air before he passes, and things like that. Yeah. Like you go on a better team where you have better players and guys that are bigger stars than you, you're not going to get those opportunities. So you'll be able to be corralled and focus on what you do well. Whereas here, he has much more leeway to do these other crazy things that we all get mad at him for. And that's why it's important that they trade him, because this team right now, as far as they could go, as I see it, is lower end of the top 6, and then obviously the play-in tournament area. Yeah. So 5 is probably their peak they could get to, I would say, being the 5th best team, and then all the way through 10th if they obviously bottom out. Like, I think that's their range. I don't think they can rise above that as presently constituted. And I don't know, the other thing I think is what can you get for him? Like that's the other side of the coin. Yeah. Like what can they obviously get for this guy? And I don't know that answer either. I've thought about certain players and I've thought about certain teams he could go to. I was like, well, maybe this team, they're close now with Zion being hurt now for a few weeks. Do you explore trading him to the Pelicans and seeing if that could work out when Zion gets back? Or do you look to trade him somewhere like Denver, who they're a very good team and they have excellent, they have good pieces around Jokic, but would he be another guy that you could put in there who's a little bit more of a rugged player, just to get under and do a little bit more of the dirty work that they don't really have that player right now. So could you trade him somewhere like that? I just kind of look over certain rosters in the NBA and where they could use him. We brought this up. We talked about Phoenix, I believe, last week, and we just saw Phoenix this past on Monday. They played Phoenix on Monday, and we saw how they're kind of missing a guy like him, a more rugged type player, because they have the more finesse guys there. So they're kind of missing a guy like him. So what can you get for him? Obviously, you want something with picks. will teams be willing to give picks for him? It's a very weird
Yeah.
kind of place to be in. If they indeed go that way, I don't know if they will. I kind of hope in my head that they're at least exploring it. I don't think they should leave anyone off the table. As much as I love Barrett and I would hate to see him get traded, everyone should be available for this team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just where do you think they should go? Like, how far do you agree with me? Like 5 is probably their peak.
Yeah, you might be generous with 5. I think. I mean, in my opinion, I think they're a meh team. They're meh.
Right.
You know, this is how I'm looking at like the Knicks, and I would do this to any team, not just because they're my homeboys or whatever. When you take each player, take their top 3 players. We're going to say it's RJ. We're going to say it's Randall, and we're going to say it's Brunson. I would say those are the top 3. We're watching them play this regular season, and we see a guy like Brunson tonight. He's maxing out his game. Look at a guy like Julius. He's maxing out his game.
Yeah.
Regular season, whenever they're maxing out their abilities right now. RJ, we don't know yet. He hasn't maxed out anything. We've seen visions of what he possibly can do, and we've seen lulls when he hasn't been doing it. Well,
yes.
we've gotten the full spectrum of RJ, but we still have not seen what he has maxed out yet because he's got holes in his game that need to be filled before we can say it. So let's just concentrate on just those 2 guys when Julius and Brunson. They've been in the league long enough. Their games are their games. They're maxing out their talent. They barely beat the Spurs tonight. So I'm saying, yeah, Julius might have an off shooting night, but on most nights, even when he's been maxing out his talent, they have lost games. Mm-hmm. They barely won.
Yeah.
So they don't have another level to go to. See, that's the importance that Knicks fans, if you want to look at the outskirt of look from the outside in at your team, you have no player that has another level to their game that when they reach their maximum potential, that's all they are. They can't go better than that. You can hope that they're either more efficient or they're just very hot and the team can't stop them. But a smart coach and a smart team can stop them. These guys are stoppable because they don't have another level to go to. They can only be more efficient or have a hot night. That's the only way it can go. What is your team with these guys maxed out? You're above a little bit over 500 with your best 2 players. I'm going to say Brunson and Julius are the best 2 players because RJ, we're still figuring out. He can be the best player on the team, but we're still figuring it out. I'm saying with the 2 guys that you're building, saying that these are your dogs. You know, RJ might be not a dog yet. Your 2 biggest dogs barely got you over 500. So what's going to happen in the playoffs? The playoffs becomes a whole different. We're locked in. We've studied tape. We're getting more familiar with you. You're going to get mudhole stomped because you can't go to another level with those 2 guys because they're limited. They're athletically limited also. You can't go further with them. You know, so I look at them as being 7, 8. That's the way I kind of view them. Mm-hmm. If someone gets injured in the Eastern Conference, that like say Embiid went down or Tatum went down, Giannis went down, you know, somebody on Brooklyn got hurt, you know, those are the top 4 teams now. You're expecting that's the only way somebody's going to slide down. So you're looking at that 5th mark. Are you better than Toronto? You know, are you better than Cleveland? You know, we're getting to those teams. So now we're like, are you better than Cleveland? No. You're better than Toronto. Well, you could be, you know.
It could be.
Siakam act like it was Jurassic Park. I don't know. I mean, just came in and just ripped your heart out. Nick Nurse is a way better coach.
Nurse is a better coach.
That's the 2 factors. Better player and better coach. When those 2 are aligned on the opposing team, the Knicks are going to have headaches. They're going to have a lot of problems. Pop out coach Tibbs tonight.
Well, he out coaches everyone.
Yeah. So everybody out coaches Tibbs. I out coached him and on 2K. I mean, we can out coach him. It's just what it is. But when you watch the dynamic, when that combination comes in, we're talking about a 7-game series where adjustments are made and the smarter people and the more talented usually is going to win. I would not count on those Knicks to do anything with the minds that I see. Brunson is probably the head of things, and even tonight he coughs at the ball and has had the inability to actually hit free throws. So he's no longer the clutch guy for you because he's questionable now. Then what are you going to send Julius to the line? Would you send Julius to the line with a game on line?
I'm looking at. I was just going through the teams in the East, and I was trying to think of a team that the Knicks have the best player on the floor, and I really can't. Like,
you can't.
The only team, maybe I guess I would say Orlando. I think Randall or Brunson are better than they have talent, but right now, I would say Randall and Brunson are better than anyone else they have.
And that's because Banchero hasn't grown up yet.
That's what I mean. Like talent-wise, yes, Orlando's probably
where they would be the definitive best players on the floor when they step into the gym. I guess.
Yeah. Like Detroit, if Cunningham was healthy, I would say no. But right now, I would say yes.
Yeah.
Like Ivy, I think he's good. But Charlotte, no. LaMelo is probably the best player on the floor.
Yeah.
When you play Charlotte, Toronto, maybe. I know Siakam put up a big game, but maybe you can say he just had a great game, and I don't know. That's debatable. Chicago are Randall at this stage better than DeRozan? That's a tough one too. I can't definitively say.
I think if we're going Chicago, I've put us right. If best even, I would not go Knicks. I mean that I know the Knicks have beaten them, but
I'm
still not saying. I think that I think the Knicks. Two things with Chicago: Levine's not healthy, as healthy as he should be, and DeRozan's a little older. But I don't know if the Knicks are still better than them talent-wise with those two.
Right. That's what I mean. I'm just like looking at it. That's why I said maybe you can make the argument at least. Washington, no. I think KP and Beal when he's healthy are both better.
They're proving that now.
Those guys are better than Brunson and Randall. Miami, Bam and Hero and Butler are probably better still than Julius and.
I know Spoelstra's better than.
Yeah, Spoelstra's a better coach. Yeah. Indiana.
I don't know. Bam. I see Miami's always a weird team to me because I don't know if they're great as much as their system and their coach is great. You know, their philosophy is great. They're brought in. What they do there is what they do great at. They're great at doing so. But yeah.
Like that you get, it's kind of like iffy territory when you're talking about Miami, and like you can make the case that we're as good, but like if at the end of the game, who are you going to, Butler or anyone we have? Right, you're going to Jimmy Butler, right? That's the guy you pick.
Absolutely, yeah. Buckets is going to get it,
right? So like, that's what Indiana maybe. I know Halliburton's having a great year, but maybe still career-wise, you go with who we have. But that's really those are the only teams I could even have that argument about.
And Indiana's playing better than us. Their record is better than us, I think.
We're the same, actually.
The same. So you look at a team like so we're just pulling even with the Chicagos and the Indianas.
And Miami, yeah.
So that to me, if that's saying we're equal or less, in my opinion, that's just my take.
Right, that's what I mean. And I just wanted to do like a star for star comparison.
Yeah.
Like when we walk into the gym, who's the best 2 players or 3 players on both sides? Yeah, and
that's a question.
Obviously, Boston, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Cleveland, and Philly.
Like the top four in the East.
5. The top 5.
5. Wait, we have Boston, we have Philly, we have Brooklyn.
Milwaukee, and
Cleveland. Yeah. So we're what is it? What did the 5 fingers say to face slap? We can slap that completely back that the Knicks are not anywhere in those guys.
Right, like the
Knicks,
Yeah, the Knicks have to play. Though our players have to play at the top of their game to compete with those teams.
Yeah.
Whereas they each have a guy or 2 guys who could take over a game and win games for their.
Yeah, and the Knicks will be done.
Right. So that's how I look at that kind of a deal, and that's why I'm saying like we're limited. We're limited as a top end mediocre team. Like our best of the best. Like that's why I said our top would probably be 5 if things broke right. our top would probably be the 5 seed. There's no way they would leap into the top 4 at any.
No. I mean, I always we go back to that 2 years ago, and I always say there were certain. See, when you say this to Knicks fans, they get a little pissed off because they're like, oh, yeah, no, you play who's in front of you. All right, yeah, we know that. We know. But
yeah, you
have
can't
to
do anything
acknowledge
else.
the competition level too. Like if 2 players are out and you win, yeah, you won. You technically won, but you know how you won because they were not at full strength. You have to acknowledge the elephant in the room that these guys would be tremendously better. They were in a 7-game series and they're missing 2 of their best players. Clearly, you have an advantage. It would be highlighted that you had an advantage. So just because it's a regular road game or a regular season game or whatever, and you go, oh, well, we won. We was playing who's on the schedule. Yeah, but Jokic wasn't in the game. The 2-time MVP wasn't in the game. Right. So you got to acknowledge that, well, they were minus Jokic, and we won. You know, it's not saying you take away the dub, but you got to also acknowledge that if he was in the game, you walk away with an L. Right. You know, come on. You got to be realistic. I mean,
yeah.
The 8-game winning streak the Knicks went on, to me, was a farce. It's great we won them, but you got to look at who you beat and how you beat them. You know, you beat teams.
You can't give them back.
Right? You didn't beat them at their high. If you went and beat, if you went on a streak and you beat Boston and you beat, Philly and you beat Milwaukee and that was your West Coast trip and you walk away with those 3 O's, I'm like, you a good team. Like, you know, the Knicks are here and those teams are at full strength. But they know at full strength, the Knicks are going to get knocked. They're going to get knocked by any team that can shoot threes at full strength. This is what it is.
Yes.
I think we're 7. I'd comfortably say 7 and 8, which we're going to be a play-in team, in my opinion. I don't see how one of those 5 or top 6 teams, who would be 6? The 6 would be who? So we said Cleveland's 5. Who would we have at 6 then? The Knicks could be in the 6th category. So we say Knicks, Toronto, Knicks, Chicago, and who else would we say?
Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana's a tough team.
Those teams. I would say more Indiana, Chicago, Knicks, Toronto if they get their act together, because they still have games where they look great and then other games where they look really terrible. And then if KP keeps playing like he's playing, Washington, look out for Washington. Yeah, look out for Washington. Those are the teams that I look at and say, okay, all of these teams could be anywhere from 6 to 11, pretty much, in the conference. And yeah, I mean that's where they are. There's no getting out of that area right now for this team. The Knicks are firmly in that tier of teams.
Yeah.
And they're gonna stay there because they don't have that transcendent player. And I mean, it's so annoying this year watching clips of Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson.
Yeah, man. Especially Scoot, man. I watched some highlights of him, and then that highlight came out just recently, and I'm like, well, damn, Knicks.
Right? Like it's really annoying.
This is like they're trying to push this narrative of play-in. Basically, you're pushing for the play-in. I know you can say playoff, but you're pushing for the play-in. You know, I always say that 2 years ago the Knicks backed into the 4th seed. It was a perfect storm to get in. A lot of perfect storms that made that season happen.
Yeah, they went on a good run.
And you never had like you couldn't. The sign is when you couldn't repeat it. That lets you know because you brought back the same cast of characters and you couldn't repeat it. That means there was a fluke. That was a fluke because you couldn't repeat it. You couldn't even get anywhere near the play-in. So the Knicks need a star. They can't go buy one. So you got to draft one. That's just how it works in this business because you're not going to sell Julius to get a star. You're going to get a tier talent. It's going to be a certain tier of talent. Nobody's going to give you, Bradley Beal's not going to come here for Julius Randle. This is not happening. And even though Bradley Beal is not, winning great and, has been an MVP candidate in DC or anything like that, but even Washington's going to laugh you off the phone. Like, because we don't know. He's in the Dame Lillard kind of category. We know they're not superstars, but I call superstar, but they're stars in the league. So, you can't go. The Knicks are stuck. We're in the worst place in the NBA, which is mediocrity. The minute you're in mediocrity, you either got to be real terrible or you got to be really good. Whereas if you're in the mediocrity realm, you're not going anywhere. And you're stuck with these questions of how do we better our team? And the only way you better this kind of teams when they're in mediocrity is burn them. Burn them down, keep some of the core solid, high-end talent you got that's young and you can build around. Look at Orlando. Orlando has coming up 2 picks in the top 5, I believe, as is.
Yeah, and they have 2 picks in the top. I think right now it looks like the top 7 or 8, but yeah. See, and they already have the number 1 pick from last year. So,
and then if you look at the Knicks, like the Knicks are sitting there,
fantastic too.
Now they're talking. See, this is why they know the Knicks are off. Now the rumor came out about Obi Toppin, them offering Obi Toppin to Indiana. What good is that doing your team? What good is that doing your team to offer? You're trading off if you did make that move, you're trading off a guy who's one of your better talents when you lack talent. You lack talent, and then you're not trying to trade. You're not trying to draft talent. You're not trying to draft high. So what would you give up him for future assets and considerations for what? Like you're not. What is the plan? They have no plan. There's a lot of people with plans in that organization and no direction. There's not one, and this is when you have too many chefs in the kitchen. There's not one recipe that they're abiding by. They're going on. Everybody has a tangent and a belief of how you're going to win in this league, and a lot of that's being leaned on Tom because they're looking at his resume and he's been in, Boston, won a chip as an assistant, but he's never been an architect of a franchise. He's never an architect. When he architect, the Wolves fired him. Even when he was architect, they fired him. We fired him because, still you look at the grand scale, you traded Laurie Marketing and Zach LaVine for Jimmy Butler. That's what you traded him for.
Yeah.
Then Jimmy bounces. And so the Timberwolves, they never recovered. They really never recovered mentally. They punch drunk still, even though they got good talent there. Timberwolves is still a failed experiment out there. So, and Butler's in Miami now. He went to Philly and then Miami. Organizations make bad moves like that. They get what they get. And the Knicks can't listen to Tom Thibodeau's voice because he has this belief that he can take 4 bus drivers and win a championship. That's not gonna work.
Right, like he prefers that too. That's the scary part. Yeah. You prefer to have the bus drivers over the good talent, the elite talent.
It's like, Tom, you want LeBron? No, I don't want LeBron.
Well, speaking of elite talent, I wanted to finish with the Nets because
they're lit.
They have been
lit.
They have literally been playing like the team everybody thought they could be.
Yep.
Maybe
last check.
Yep, they love Jacques Vaughn, who's been fantastic for them, and I mean it's all. When you can, look, anytime you can roll the ball out and have Kevin Durant on your team is always a plus. But and he is literally having an MVP season.
Yeah,
he might wind up winning it. I still think Jokic is the best player in the league because of both ends of the floor. But Durant's even playing the same defense he was playing when he was with Golden State, when he was kind of their center and he was blocking shots, and like he's been that guy this year. And Kyrie, we haven't heard anytime you don't hear anything about Kyrie, it's a good time.
Very good thing.
Right? So we're not hearing any Kyrie stuff. Ben Simmons is giving them a little something, and he's playing his type of defense that he plays. Nick Claxton is anchoring the middle, averaging close to three blocks a game. Like this team is coming together, and it's a scary proposition because talent-wise, obviously top-level talent-wise, they're arguably the best team in the East. You can make the case, maybe Boston. But that's the only other team that could challenge like a Durant, Kyrie, and I'll put Simmons in there just for the sake of it, of his talent level, challenge those 3 type of talents. And it's been, I mean, I don't watch every game, but I kind of like keep your ear perked because we live in this area.
Yeah, yeah.
So you
Mhm.
like catch the stuff in passing. And yeah, they're just phenomenal. They've been fantastic. And it's scary. If they play like this, I can see them winning a title. I can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think when you think back on when that move was made, that was the initial thought that they would win a
Right.
title. I don't think the antics and all the subplots that was going on in Brooklyn, was everything but basketball. But on the court, when you look at that team, even when they had Harden, you were expecting them to win something, at least one, if they can get their acts together. The only thing that was preventing that is their mentality, or the mental fragility on the team, and the off court stuff. But if Kyrie Irving is playing basketball, then you've got a nuclear weapon. That's just what it is.
Seriously.
If he's playing basketball and that's all he's doing, you got a nuclear weapon. He's one of the best talents in the league, an unstoppable talent when he's locked in. So, you're starting to see that. I think that affects the Knicks too, in a lot of ways. I think that's why you see us. We went out and obviously got Jalen Brunson. This success, and then watching Julius Randle is also a little bit fearful to me that the Knicks try to compete against Brooklyn and make another move. That's what would scare me, is that there would be a knee jerk with Brooklyn playing so well that the Knicks load up and do a Levine trade, which would just, to me, would just be
Don't
the
say
absolute
that.
worst, because you got teams. You got an owner who wants to be relevant still. He wants to be relevant. We know he's in the background, as whatever. So was the Wizard. He was in the background. Toto was going down the road. I mean, he, he's here. He's going. That 12-game winning streak is going to bother him. And we're at a mediocrity right now. Julius is probably the all-star talent on the team, so they're going to pump him up. I don't know if they trade away that now. That's the whole thing. It's like they want to have their star on the team, which he's not a star like that. And, he's not of those. He's better than Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons don't have his act together mentally. But that's all where the comparison stops. But when you look at like that, I think the net success might make the Knicks do a knee-jerk thing, which I'm very frightened about.
I can't. It's weird. I can't even say he's better. Like offensively, yes, as a scorer, he's better than Ben Simmons. But would you take him in as a defensively? Not even. It's not even close. And for what?
I don't think it. I mean, for me, I think it's just mentality for Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
I think both. Well, then again, I don't know. Both of those dudes mentally have checked out. I just think that Julius is still engaged in the game more than Ben. Like, I think Ben has, Ben is overthinking a lot. I think Julius don't do enough thinking. He's very emotional. He's very emotionally driven, and everything he does is all emotion. So that's what I was laughing earlier. The 3-point after the third quarter, he's like pumping his chest. I'm like, dude, that was the third quarter. It's like
that's a whole other quarter to be played.
I mean, you got a whole 12 minutes, bro. And I'm looking at that, and I'm like, this dude is amped because he hit it. And I'm like, this isn't the time for that. You're supposed to. This is when you win games. You do all this chest pumping, and you maybe put your team ahead. And this is the Spurs. I still go, no offense to San Antonio. I respect that franchise like crazy. But it's like,
I mean,
this version is the terrible team. Wow, they got Tim Duncan back. This is how bad the Spurs is. And
hitting buzzer beaters is always fun. I'll admit that. So I understand that part of the excitement. Like when you hit a buzzer beater end of a quarter, yeah, you get excited. But he was like,
I was
like, dude,
he was like the chocolate Hulk. He was just like,
easy, calm down,
dude.
Easy. Relax.
This is not the time to sit here and act out now. You got to put away this team. I mean, you should be mad that they were even in the game. Is why you should have. But see, this is about leadership. He should have went to everyone of his teammates and like, are you kidding me? The Spurs are here and they suck, and we're playing alongside them. Let's send a message and let them know they shouldn't even be in the gym. That's what leaders supposed to do. You think Patrick Ewing wouldn't have slapped the hell out of somebody if that team was in there and he's like, you gonna let him beat you? You gonna let that dude beat you?
Well, no, Ewing would have just taken over the game.
Oh yeah, he would have monster dunked that.
With nobody, they have no. Well, Poeltl's pretty good, but
well, we didn't talk about Mitch. Jakob Poeltl should have not have been. He was killing Mitch.
He did it in San Antonio too. He's the kind. He's the kind of center that Mitch has problems with.
Yep.
He's that kind of, and there's always like one or two guys in the league that even for great players, for some reason, their number.
Yeah, they have a hard time.
And I feel like this is Mitch's guy. Like now we found him. This guy is the guy who just completely, for whatever reason,
just rips him,
takes him out of his game. It's crazy to see, but like he was in foul trouble all night.
All night.
So, I don't know.
It was funny because it's like reminds me of what is it? Shaq said, "Big country used to give him problems," or whoever it was.
Yeah,
it's like I was watching that night. I'm like, not that Jakob Poeltl is a good player. He's
a good player. Yeah.
I wish he was backing up Mitch over Hartenstein now. I mean, that'd be a really nice, solid pickup for the Knicks if they had waited a little bit. Now Hartenstein, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's the Achilles or whatever. But needless to say, Jakob Poeltl is a good player. I'm not knocking him. It's just Mitch was just. He was like Joel Embiid to Mitch tonight. Mitch couldn't do nothing with him but give out fouls.
Yeah, and he still that's the thing. He still has games like that where he gets into foul trouble, and a lot of times when I'm watching the game, you can kind of tell all right, this might be one of those nights.
Yeah,
where he has that kind of thing, and because we all know when he's on the court and he has his great games, the Knicks are a tough team to beat.
Yeah, when he's on. He's on. The Knicks are on. He's locked in, and I've seen him rip some rebounds this year, and he's just like, that's my ball. And see, that's why I love that tenacity where he's like, no, I own this. You're not getting a rebound. Give me the rock. I love that. I wish we had more players like that were, demonstrative, in the right direction.
He's the only one.
Yeah, Julius is demonstrative, but it's everybody, the refs, he berates his teammates for his lackluster performances. Whereas a guy like Mitch is like, I'm coming out the grind, and you're in my house. He treats it like he owns the paint. He owns that section of the garden. You're not supposed to be anywhere near my, this part of the court. We don't have that from a focus on. We have guys that play great, solid defense, but I don't know. We've always lacked that. That's my knock against Allen Houston. Always, I think like we're sitting here with choir boys. No offense, just leave church for Sunday. I don't want to hear church and playing the games. I want dogs. I want dogs in the game, and we have not had that guy in a while. There's like we've not had a and. The way the generation is, we won't get them because I don't see anyone with maybe Giannis has that nastiness about, like this is I don't care. You don't gotta like me. He might be one of them.
I think Embiid likes to be that guy.
He wants to be the villain. Yeah, I agree.
Trae Young's another one who likes to be.
We didn't bring up Atlanta too. We're talking about what is going.
Well, that I was going to bring him up as another guy who, when they walk into the gym, he's clearly the best player on the floor. Yeah. Trae Young is that other guy, and Murray too. You could throw Murray in there as well. Both of them are better than any guy we have.
Will Atlanta be in that? Will Atlanta be in that hunt of that?
I don't
know.
They
should be the team that's in that 5th, 6th seed.
They should probably be. Yeah, you're right. That based off talent alone, they should be in there. And we know they're having issues between Young and McMillan, and that I think has to be resolved for them to actually be the team that they should be, because there's no reason why they are not at least have the same record as the Knicks. Like they should have about 21 wins, maybe even more than that.
I think they should be where Cleveland is, to be very honest. I think
that's fair.
But it's so funny. They had that success that year, and they never. It was something, and then they let go of guys, not Cam, but what's his name? Kevon. They call him Kevin. They call him Kevon.
Not Looney.
No. His name is not Kevon, but they call him Kevin. Kevin. He plays in Sacramento.
Querter.
They call him Kevon. No, that was the nickname because he was smooth. He was killing people. So the brothers call him Kevon. But he's having a great year. They got rid of that dude. It's like, you're getting rid of talent, and you bring in. Don't get me wrong. I like DeJounte Murray, but was that the best fit to bring in next to Trae Young?
A big deal with them is always going to be DeAndre Hunter's health. When he's healthy, they're a different team.
Yeah, that's true.
Defensively, so he's always a beauty. But for some reason, he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at when I look at their starting five, I'm like, they should be better. I don't understand why they're not a better team, but
I think they have a little bit of from what if we're buying what they said about Nate McMillan, I think it was what's his name? Matt Barnes and someone else was commenting on him, and they had nothing nice. Nothing nice to say about Nate McMillan, and I'm more than sure if they, being old school guys, had nothing nice to say about him, I can only imagine what these young guys are saying about Nate McMillan, and his code is sort of like how Tom Thibodeau is, very old school. You can't have his was you can't have cell phones. You can't have them on the bus or on a plane. That's going to be a conflict of interest. But he'll be the first go. I don't think they'll trade Trae to keep McMillan. They'll fire McMillan to keep Trae. They should be a lot better though. They might click. You never know.
We're back.
Oh, we froze out. Okay.
It froze for a little bit. Sorry about that, guys.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I saw you and I was like, I think we're in the Matrix.
Yeah, I was looking at the signal. I'm like, no, everything looks fine. I don't know why we're frozen, but
man, it's definitely going to be interesting down the stretch. I don't know who our next opponent is. Is it Indiana's next?
Yeah, they play. Yeah, let's go really quickly. We'll go through who they play next coming down the pike here, and we can always do the win-loss game because that's always fun to do. Mm-hmm. So then they have a revenge game, a possible revenge game at Toronto on Friday. Wow. So they play Toronto. Then they're going to lose to Milwaukee on Monday.
Yeah, Milwaukee's trying to come back off of their skid. So
then they play Indiana, then at Washington, at Detroit. So, not a terrible stretch. The Milwaukee game obviously is tough, but all the other games are winnable. They have a lot of winnable games coming up. So, not that they will win them, but they are winnable. They play Toronto three times actually. They play Atlanta again. They play Washington. They play Detroit. So they have games that they can be in and win, and make a little bit of a headway. But again, when you're at the top of mediocrity, you can also lose those games.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point like tonight's game should have been an easy check. Like,
yeah, that's the crazy thing, right? Like,
Knicks, they're undermanned. They come into your house. You just think that that's a dub automatically, and it should be a runaway dub. And then,
especially coming off Monday where they killed Phoenix.
Yep.
Like that wasn't even a game.
That wasn't a game. They wiped them. They wiped them. Completely.
Yeah. So when you come off of that kind of a game, you would expect that you're trying to build momentum. And again, you're right. It's coaching, and Pop is a great coach, and our coach isn't because he's inflexible and won't change things. So, or he sits guys and says that they're situational. That's what he does.
What is it? That term just pisses me off when I hear someone situational. That's just the assertion that you'd rather play 8 people, and you don't care about the other 7 guys on the bench.
Well, what at this point in his career, what does Obi do so great that he would be a situational player? Like, he's not a great shooter. He can shoot, but he's not a great shooter. He's not a great defensive player, not a great passer. So what situation are you putting him in someone gets injured, that's the only situation that I can think of.
Well, I laughed at that because he said that Cam was situational, and Cam has never seen the floor since. Which
He's been in the blowout, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he'd rather put in Rose and F over Kim. And hey, it's fine. But are you going to do the same thing to Obi? Is Obi coming in behind Evan Fournier now?
That's crazy.
If F's the first guy off the bench, like when Obi gets healthy, no offense to F, I'm an F fan, you know that. But it's like, are you telling me that now Obi may not get in behind? He might be in the pecking order behind F?
But see, that's why they are where they are. And that's why the Knicks are where they are. Because, like you said before, there is no plan. I think there's a plan. I just think it's a bad one.
Well, that's true.
Right? Like, I think Thibodeau's plan just doesn't fit the current day game.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's what I look at. Like, people say, oh, the Knicks, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but they have a coach who's stuck in his ways. He doesn't like to adjust. He doesn't like changing things. He only does stuff when he's absolutely forced to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't win like that. You need to be innovative. You need to be forward thinking. You need to be able to swallow your pride a little bit and say, you know what? This is my way isn't doing it. So we need to we need to do what our team is built to do instead of trying to square pegs into round holes.
Mm-hmm.
The square pegs go in the squares and the round pegs go in the round holes.
Yep.
And, let's just play that way. This team right now, their best players are offensive-minded players. They are. Like, Randall is not a great defensive player. He, like I said, plays situational defense.
Yeah.
Brunson is not a good defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
RJ is probably the best of the three, which is scary because he's only, I'd say, average.
Yeah.
Your best defensive players are Grimes and McBride, and Robinson. Those are the three guys on the team that are defense first players, and that's 3 guys out of 15.
And 2 of them are offensively limited.
Yeah.
So they become not playable. Unless they're maxing out, unless the defense is being maxed out by them, and you're smothering a team, then the need for them to score becomes less. But nobody can play defense like that for a whole game. No, they can't. It's impossible unless the whole team is filled with defenders. You're going to burn them out, and they're going to get fouled out after a while.
I think the biggest example of Tibbs being inflexible is Hartenstein.
Yeah.
Because this guy is such a good passer.
Mm-hmm.
You could play him in the high post and have guys back all day, and he would find them.
Yeah.
And we never do it.
Never.
They never give him the ball up there.
Nope.
And that's the part. Like, when I watch them play, I say, okay, you have this guy. If you watched him play in his career, this is the stuff he does well. And you don't even try to do it. You don't even attempt to do it. It's the same thing with Mitchell Robinson. Like, when he said, they don't pay me to score. They don't want me to score or do anything offensively. How do you know this guy can't score? Like, we've seen him make a couple moves recently.
Yeah.
He's not an idiot. He's not fumbling the ball and have 2 left feet down there. He has some athletic skill. Obviously, we see it. He runs the floor well.
Yeah.
So, the
footwork is not like he can't.
He's
capable of having a move.
But that's the thing. Like, you have a coach who doesn't. He has guys. He fits them into roles, and that's their role.
That's their role.
Nothing else. They're never rising above that. It's like a caste system, right? This is where you are. You're never rising above, so get used to it.
Get used to it.
And that's terrible.
You're never going to be
terrible.
You're never going to join the army and be all you can be. You're going to be just right here.
And it's weird. The only guy in recent history I can think of who ever pushed against that was Barrett. Remember last year when he was kind of like, oh, RJ used to do this, whatever. RJ tried it. He's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll do what I do.
I'm going to play my own game.
I'll do what I do. Yeah. And whatever. And
you go, I'm gonna play. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. I mean, you never. It's like, I'm telling you. That's why I said I was joking, but I was being more truthful. He doesn't like athleticism because it makes him. Oh God, I got to think about this guy can jump. I want guys that can't jump. Yeah, this is how this dude operates.
And it's so true. Like I think about the players he's coached in his career, and that's an excellent statement to make. Like all the best players he's coached in his outside of Derrick Rose, none of them have been great athletes.
Nope.
None of them.
They are grinders.
Yeah.
Hardworking grinders. That's what they have been. Because you look at a guy like Joakim Noah. Joakim, he won Defensive Player of the Year. That's it. That's who he is. You know, he's a defender, energy guy, and a rebounder. He's a smart passer from the top. But see, it's funny now. Somebody like Hartenstein, who can do the same things Joakim can do, he's like, oh, no. We're not gonna do that. That confused me in Chicago. I can't think like that in New York. You know, this is just becoming too much. It's insurmountable. I might go crazy.
Well, Noah could handle a little, so he would bring the ball up, and then he would do it from himself. Like they didn't really go to him in the post. Noah would just take the ball, dribble it up, and then find someone.
Yeah.
Whereas Hartenstein can't dribble, so he doesn't do that.
Because Noah was a talented guy who was limited. He was limited,
right?
But he picked his times where his talent showed. Like he could dribble a little bit enough to get around somebody who he knows is slower than him. Clearly, he knows how to steal money. He knows how to do that when he's a good thief.
When you think about like maybe Noel's a good athlete. Maybe he's the next player I can think of that he coaches.
There's not many because look, he traded away Zach. Zach was who was more athletic than Levine.
Not when he was younger, nobody.
When that guy, I mean, he saved the dunk contest in my opinion because I watched those dunks and I'm like, well, damn. I know Vince was ridiculous, but that dude is just as ridiculous.
He didn't like Wiggins.
Wiggins, he didn't like.
No.
You know, I'm telling you, that guy doesn't like athletic guys. He proves time and time again that he's a limited coach who likes limited players. He wants guys that are just wanting to go out there and work as hard. And like I said, I've never seen guys watch as much film as they claim they do. And you've yet to crack the Da Vinci Code? You can't crack the safe? You watch that much film, but here I'm sitting on my couch and I can see what flaws are in the game that you should make changes, but you tell me you watch film. There's no way in hell he's watching film. If he's watching it, he has dark glasses on. You know, there's no way he's seeing the camera's off if he's watching it. Because, you know, somebody like even Emmanuel Quickly, you know, I get on Quick, but it's because how he's being utilized. You are a limited player. And it's fine, but what you're good at is what you should be working, what you should be maximizing. To say, oh, who sees Manuel Quickly as a point guard? You just think about that. I'm not saying he can't play point guard, but what in Thibodeau's mind was like, nah, forget all that floating stuff you do. Forget all those 3-point shots. I want you to see the floor.
It's been evident. Like RG's been out, he's been playing scoring guard pretty much.
Yep, he's been
playing the best ball of the season.
Yep.
So he's been more efficient.
Yep.
Like he looks more comfortable on the floor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All these things because he's not thinking so much. He's just playing basketball.
Just playing.
And he's playing, and so you would think you're like, yeah, I screwed up. Like, okay, this is who he is as a player. This is the kind of guy we need. And they just I know the minute Barrett comes back, Quickly will go back to being what he was.
Yeah.
I know it without even I'm being Nostradamus. I can see the future right now.
See it. You're right, bro.
And I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. He's going to go back to being in that same role he was before. And it's going to make everyone furious. But this is the issue with him as coach. And it's just time. It's beyond time.
Yeah,
it's been time. I don't care how many games they're like. I don't care that they have 21 wins, 21 and 18, 3 games over 500. If that's your goal as an organization, that you're happy with that, then why I shouldn't even be a fan of this team anymore. If that's what you want to be, whether it's keeping Tibbs as coach or not trading Randall or whatever, if that's your goal, is just to make the playoffs and be in this crappy cycle of mediocrity that this is the best we can get. If signing guys like Alec Burks and Nerlens Noel and I'm going back a few years now, but I'm just thinking of all the moves that they've made to fit this coach because this is the players he likes. If that is your goal and this is what this guy does for you, then give me. I want Verizon to give me my money back for MSG every month because
it's so true what you're saying because it's like you can get this from anybody.
Yeah.
If your whole goal, I gotta see. I wonder what his record is as the Knicks coach overall. His overall record, I wonder what that is right now.
I could probably find that
because
out.
if it's below 500, then why is he even here?
Let me see.
He had the one great season. That's the only one I know, and that was a shortened season, I believe. I think that was a shortened season. The bubble season was shortened. It wasn't full 82 games.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
Might have been 70 games.
So let's see. He was last year they were 37-45. The first year they were 41-31. So let's see, that's 88. And coming to the season, they were 88-76. And now it's the same. It's mediocre. It's exactly what we're talking about. Barely over 500.
Barely over 500.
That's basically the record.
And that's supposed to be some accomplishment. A 500.
So it's 109 and 76 and 18 is what? 94.
94.
I think. Right? Let me use the calculator because I'm probably wrong about that too. Let's see. So if we have 41,
to believe that's even
78. So I was wrong about that. So it was 78 and 76 coming into the season.
So
and now let's see, we have 21. So that's 99. And what is it? 99, 94. So there are 5 games over 500 in his tenure here. That's it. And that is just
keep bringing him back.
That's mediocre. And again, you could complain about the talent. This is the talent he wants. So why are you complaining about the talent? This is the talent he wants. Leon Rose is not signing players. The only player he added that Thibodeau didn't want was Cam Reddish, and we see how he's treated him.
Yeah,
playing him early, he's not playing him anymore. So everybody else on the team, outside of obviously Barrett, who was here before, and Randall, who was here before, 2 of his best players behind you.
Yep.
But he obviously wants to keep. He's obviously happy keeping Randall because he doesn't bench him for anything.
Nope.
The guy could stab someone in center court and he'd play him. He doesn't bench him at all. And these are players that he likes to coach. So I don't want to hear talent. Don't complain to me that he doesn't have talent. These are the guys he wants.
Yeah, because Larry Brown was playing and moves everybody to get the talent he thought he wanted. So
right. And again, we talk about Obi, right? They drafted Obi to replace Randall, and Tibbs barely plays the kid.
Mm-hmm. And you never know the nightmare. The nightmare that Knicks fans should brace themselves from is that he trades one of these, like a guy like Obi, and some team unlocks. It would be the greatest nightmare for Knicks fans if they trade away a pick like Obi Toppin and he goes somewhere else and becomes those numbers that we've seen when he was able to start. And the only thing you're left with is a couple bag of chips from potential, draftees, and you had a solid talent that's been wasted on the bench like that you could use. Who can use 20 and 8?
Exactly, 20 and 8. Athletic. Gets the crowd going, gets the team going. The dunks he does demoralizes the other team. Like that, it's more with him because of just how disrespectful some of his dunks have been. Like this guy does under the leg windmills in games and behind the back 360s in games. Like that's disrespectful, in my opinion, to another team. But he does it, and I mean that's the thing I love about him. And they I don't know. It's been a screw up with him, and but again, this is what they want. They want mediocrity. They want to just be relevant. Like they want to be able to be talked about, and that's where they are with it. Until they have someone who says no. Yes, we're good now, but we're never going to be great unless we do blah blah blah. Unless we trade, gather more picks or trade for a young star or like it's annoying to me that they didn't know that Halliburton could be had. Like, how does he go to Indiana? How does that happen? How does he? Yes, I love Sabonis. He's one of my favorite players in the league. But that's all they gave up, really, for him.
That's all,
right? Like
and Sacramento wanted Julius. That was he wanted Julius. It wasn't like they didn't, but the Knicks, because it's too many people in someone's ear because it sounds like a Thibodeau reluctancy to let go of Julius, and thinking Halliburton is limited, and it's like to me, I thought Sacramento was crazy. I mean, when I heard that, I'm like, you guys have lost your damn mind giving up on Halliburton that quick. And you see what he's doing. I think he leads the league in assists. So,
but it's kind of worked out because they're good. They've been better.
Yeah, they are good. But I thought it was outlandish to even wanting to trade that. But then the fact that they said he's available, I'm like,
right, exactly.
The Knicks didn't jump completely out the window. It's like, what do you want for him? Because that's when you do take. See, then your master plan becomes even better because you drafted a guy like Obi. You send a guy like Julius to Sacramento, who's more along their timeline of wanting to win.
Right, with De'Aaron Fox.
Now you have Halliburton, RJ, Obi, and you're running amok. Are you crazy?
I know.
How exciting that team would have been in the Garden.
I know. They kind of would have been kind of like a version of what we're seeing with the Thunder.
Yep.
Right? Kind of like that would have been very much. Yeah, that's what it would have been.
Been an exciting young team that's growing and only needing to add a piece.
Yeah, and I mean, they still.
The Knicks, they're just the dumbest. They're dumb. I don't care how great Julius is playing now. He should be. But once again, who do you trade him to now?
Yep.
I mean, unless Phoenix wants to give us Cam Johnson. I know he's injured, but that's the kind of guy you would get, or maybe Mikal Bridges. I don't know. They don't think they're giving him up, but Mikal Bridges and some picks. I mean, I would take that.
They're not going to give up Bridges.
They're not going to give him. And the Knicks aren't going to give up Randall because they think that he's LeBron, which is but it's very.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even. They probably wouldn't trade him in the East, so it would definitely be out West. And like I said, outside of Denver, maybe the Clippers, even though they have nothing really I want.
Dallas,
yeah, Dallas could use.
Dallas needs him. I just don't know who they could give
someone, but again, they don't have anybody,
and they don't have picks like that. So
no, there's really no other team.
Portland maybe would take him, but who are you getting? But they got Jeremy Grant, so they don't even need him really in Portland.
I could see the Grizzlies. I think he'd be a good fit there.
Yeah, I think so too.
But who are they going to trade? Like,
yeah, they're not giving up Dylan Brooks, who I would.
They're not giving up Brooks. They're not going to give up Desmond Bane.
Yep.
They're not going to give those guys up.
And definitely not Jackson. They're not giving him up. So.
Yeah, so it really sucks, and I don't know what picks they have or, I don't know, but he needs that. That's the situation he needs to go to, something like that. Like I said, New Orleans is the other team only because Zion is hurt now.
Yeah, New Orleans is interesting that you bring them up. I'm just wondering,
and they know him.
I just wonder what they would even give back in that kind of trade.
Well, they're not trading Ingram. They're not trading.
Yeah.
They're not trading Zion.
Or McCollum.
Right. Would you do it for maybe like a Dyson Daniels who was drafted this year?
Yeah, I'd take young guys. I would take young guys.
Like Kira Lewis.
I don't know if I'd take Kira, but I would take Dyson, and maybe a pick. Maybe even if it's a second round pick. I mean, I'd want a talent and an asset. Or it could be a conditional first round if it needs to be.
Right.
But I'd want a young talent and an asset that I can, parlay into making something bigger. But you're not winning with this guy like that. I don't care. I mean, if I'd love to be wrong about it, but I don't think I'm wrong. I don't see him having another level to go to, and he's not getting you to the Eastern Conference Finals, which ultimately should be your goal. If you're putting together a team, at least you should be getting to the Eastern. You should be Detroit Pistons getting to the Eastern Conference Finals all the time.
Right, and you have a guy in RJ who's very similar to what he does. So I don't think you'd be losing that much.
You wouldn't be losing much at all.
Right? Like you wouldn't be even from just a playing standpoint. Like, if you think about it from that point of view, like you wouldn't offensively, you wouldn't be losing much. You might lose a little bit of rebounding, but hopefully Obi comes in and or hopefully that makes RJ can rebound a little bit. So hopefully that puts him more on alert. Like, I need to rebound more. Things like that. Like, I think you can do these kinds of things and make up for what he brings you. It might not be one player, but I feel like you can do that. But yeah, he's their only chip too. Like, I don't see another player that they can trade. Even if you want to say, okay, they could trade RJ Barrett, but I don't think now they can because they just signed him.
Yeah, they got to wait till the offseason.
Right. So I feel
like they don't. That's going to be hard to trade him right now. Also, I mean, like I said, maybe a team like I take a guy like maybe Josh Hart from Portland and maybe a pick from them. I don't know, something like that. I mean, you can't get wrapped up in a stat dude. He has he's putting up great stats, but if your record is, if you're not 10 games above 500 with those stats, and you're in the top echelon of the Eastern Conference, then you just got a really good player on an okay team.
Yeah, like his win share is about 5, which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see Brunson's. I think Brunson's is like 10 or something like that.
Yeah, probably so.
Like that. I like looking at that stat because that tells you what they're about the same. Brunson's about the same.
I look at a guy like Brunson. I mean, when you look at the redundancy, RJ's a redundant player as well as Brunson. Brunson just happens to be the point guard, but the things that Julius does good is outside of the rebounding, all those guys are capable of doing. You're talking about scoring, hitting threes, and being bulls. All three guys have that in them to play that kind of game. So it's like you're removing Julius. It's not like you're missing stuff. You're just basically needing to replace maybe some of the production on the boards. I'd take a guy who's averaging 18 and 10 for him, or 18 and 7. You can make up 3 rebounds somewhere, as long as he's a guy that fits in the mold of it makes the team better. When you swing the ball, it makes sense as opposed to swinging it and he catches it and he holds it. Like tonight, I wish if you were right in front of the camera when I was watching the game, I was sitting there. I said, that's a turnover. As soon as I saw him caught the ball, I said, that's a turnover. I said, he's going to get doubled. He went right to me and got doubled. I'm like, don't give it to him. They know what he's going to do. They know where he's going. They know that he's going to make this move. It's so predictable. And like I said, that's what's wrong. The league is improvisation, and the Knicks don't have – Brunson's an improvisation player because you don't know where he's going to end up when he's dribbling. But Julius, you know from the get-go where this is going. You just pray that he either hits a 3 that's open or that he does not turn over the ball. It's just whatever with him. I would never build. You can't build around that kind of player and go big. You're not going to win anything building around. I've never seen a player like that win anything.
It's true. There's really no other way to say it. You're right. There's nothing. He's just. I don't look at him as a winning player. I never have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a moot point at this juncture. And he is their best, he's their best chip right now. He is. He's their biggest trade chip. And
And he's a nice dude too. It's not like this is I feel like Nino Brown. This is business. This don't take it personal, Tito. This really isn't about him personally. It's about basketball business. He needs, as a basketball franchise, you got to do what's best for the future of your franchise. And currently, this is sustainable mediocrity. That's all it is. It's not going to get better. Might not get worse. Might not get better. You're just going to be stuck. And if your ultimate goal is to win a championship, you don't win them this way, building this kind of team and depending on that kind of player to get you there. You're not going to win that way.
You're not. I mean, that's the best way to put it. You're not going to win that way. He's just not a win. He's not. Like I said, if he's your best player, you have problems.
Yeah, you have a lot of problems. So. Unless it's the third quarter and he hits a clutch shot.
All right, let's wrap this one up.
Yes, sir.
We've been at it for a while. Let's wrap this one up. So, very quickly, just tell people where they can find you.
You can find me at Genius Scribble. You can also find me at All Knicked Up page on Facebook, where I put some articles out there, hopefully to engage people. Send me some smoke. Don't just smoke turkeys. I always say that. Send me some of the smoke. Engage with me. I'll be putting up some more articles in the coming future, obviously.
Yes, and Tankathon.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I sneak in there now. At first I was in Bellevue with Craig, but now he's got a new job. So I don't know how that's going to work. So we might can't partner up with that. But, yes, you can find me secretly on Tankathon.
Tankathon, of course.
Sure.
I might peek on Tankathon from time to time as well. I'm not going to lie. I might pick my head in there and say,
shoot for scoop.
What did I joke about doing today, Ty? When I sent you messages in the group chat? What did I tell you in the group chat? What are we gonna do to Julius and Jalen?
Oh yeah. Well, we gotta keep it on.
That's true. I didn't say nothing. What we're talking about. It's late.
It's one of the. We got the Vols plan. Co-defendants.
All right, guys. You want to hit me up? My name, Eric, as you've seen there, at Finally33 on Twitter is my direct account. At all_Knicked_up is the show account. You can go hit me up there if you want to discuss anything we talk about on the show, anything Knicks related. I'm working on getting a guest or two. I'm trying to see if I can parlay that. So if I do get a guest or two, maybe someone from the Knicks beat, maybe someone from there trying to hop on and come talk with us. Maybe give us a half hour, 45 minutes on one of our shows would be fun to do.
Yes, sir.
Or maybe that might be just a podcast we recorded separately and we post it up for you guys to listen to. But I'm trying to do that so you can get a little bit more, get a little bit of insight on what's going on with the Knicks from someone closer to the situation. So we'll see about doing that going forward. I also do another podcast called Straight Outta Gotham. It's at @straight_O_G on Twitter for the show. I do that with I co-host that with my friend and colleague Peter Vera. That show is comic movie based, pop culture. We talk about horror films. We talk about, obviously, the comic book movies are very, very important to us. We talk about the comic book shows that are on Disney Plus or the CW or any of the shows that have comic book characters. We discuss those as well. We talk about toys. We even talk about a little bit about other sports on that one. We snuck sports into it. We talk about the Yankees because Pete's a big Yankee fan, so we'll talk about the Yankees from time to time. And if you want to check us out over there, again, it's at @straight_O_G on Twitter and Instagram as well. We have an Instagram account over there. We also have a Facebook page, as Ty mentioned. So for All Knicked Up, if you want to check out just what's going on with the show, that would be the All Knicked Up show page. The All Knicked Up group is where we interact and talk and with the community and interact about the Knicks and things going on with basketball. Anything in basketball you guys want to talk there, you can check us out over there. Same thing with Straight Outta Gotham. We have a Straight Outta Gotham page where we post all the articles that we're going to discuss on every week's show. And then the group is where we kind of talk with our fans and followers and kind of have fun in that regard. I'm going to start posting. I post a lot of polls on the Straight Outta Gotham page. So I'm going to start doing polls on the All Knicked Up page as well for the fans. I'll do polls like, who's your favorite Knick player? Should we trade Julius Randle? I'd love to know what everyone else thinks because I know what we think, but I'd love to know what everyone else thinks about the team and what direction they think we should go. I think we can entertain that idea and have a lot of fun with that, and then talk about it on the show. Like we could do the poll and then bring it up on the show the following week. I think that'd be fun to do as well. Again, this show is still fairly new. We're still trying to figure things out. As you can see, Craig's not here tonight, so he's being responsible and a responsible adult, and he has to be up early for his new job. So he said, if the Knicks have a game, I probably won't be able to come on. And they literally have a game every Wednesday. So it's been so weird that they do what they do. It's been every Wednesday almost, except for the couple that I think I couldn't do when they were all the shows I couldn't do is when they did have games on Wednesday. So, but we love doing this every week. Again, if the Knicks don't have a game, we try and come on at 9:00. And then when they do have a game, it's immediately after the game ends. We will hop on and talk about the game and then anything else going on in the world of the Knicks that we have heard we want to share with you. So again, I want to thank Ty. Thanks again for coming on as always. I want to thank everyone who watched this week. Again, next week, they have a game. I think they're playing the Nets. I think I said so. Next week, I think so. I think it's the Nets. So next week is a game. We'll be on right after the game to discuss that matchup. Hopefully they win this one. But with the way the Nets are playing, I'm not holding my breath. All right. So for Ty, I'm Eric. You are watching All Knicked Up, and we will see you next time.